Good morning, Raptor Freaks. And if the mic ain't gonna work, I ain't plugging it in. I should have said nothing in the Raptor Freak chat on Facebook. All right, I've got power. I've got internet. The stream should be fine. I'm at home. Everything should be set up. I messed myself up. I shouldn't have said nothing this morning. Of course, the microphone's not working or cooperating now. I have no idea why. Anyway, I can unplug the mic and just use the mic for the computer for today, just because. If you see what's behind me, guys, you remember this flag, right? I found my We the North flag from the old show. Of course, I got this flag at game one of the finals in 2019, the first ever finals game played in Canada, in Toronto, when we played the Golden State Warriors and won game one in 2019 of the NBA Finals. Yeah, that's where I got that flag. That's why it's our championship flag in some ways. We the North championship flag. All right, y'all. It's finally kind of feeling a little bit normal for the Raptor Freak stream. I'm sorry for the last few days with the power outage here at my house. And apparently today there's more rain, freezing rain today. So who knows? Maybe the power might go right back out today because the stupid more weather that's caused the problem last week is happening today also. More freezing rain. Great. Good to see Bonica's in the chat. Good morning, Raptor Free Crew. Sorry, Trevor, that I had to remake the stream a couple times. I saw your words of wisdom there. They're very, very good. You could hear me finally. I know. I don't know what it is. The microphone, for some reason, does not want to connect to the computer. It's all plugged in, and it says it's working, but it's not registering. And I did a couple of troubleshoots, and it still wasn't working. So I said, screw it. We're going without the mic today, and we're going to use the microphone in the computer today. Yeah, we back. That's right, Nins. We back. And, of course, last night, the Raptors were eliminated from the playoffs, unfortunately, and swept by the Chicago Bulls on April Fool's Day, which is not fun, which is not cool. I don't like this, In some ways, this sucks because I wanted to not get swept by the Bulls. And in some ways, I hate getting eliminated from the playoffs. So, and we got routed too. That's the crazy thing. This game last night was frustrating because from all outside before and preview yesterday, I said this should be a game where we can win because the Bulls are playing the Thunder the night before and they got their butt kicked and it was a high scoring game and there was a lot of energy expended and they had to travel from Oklahoma City back to Chicago. It's not like they had a back-to-back where they stayed in Chicago. So I figure, okay, and they got a lot of injuries too. They had different guys that were not available to play, but I underestimated two things. And those two things are, first of all, Billy Donovan is doing a really good job with building something just like Darko's building with us. The Bulls have a great little nucleus now all of a sudden. They've changed actually since we saw them the last time we saw them. That they've got their shit more together. They're playing really well off each other. And it's a Giddy. Giddy in some ways is more comfortable and getting used to being in Chicago. And in some ways, he's making all of his teammates better. And they have a weird little nucleus now. And part of it is also Buzelis. Buzelis, as a rookie, has progressed so well this year. And he looks like a different person since the beginning of the year. It's kind of like our rookies. They fleshed out, got bigger, stronger, and more knowledgeable. Well, Mattis Buzelis has done that also this year. Of course, this year, Kobe White has been a menace to the Toronto Raptors. In all kinds of different ways, Kobe White has been annoying. So this season, we got swept by the Bulls. And I want the Raptors to remember this and take it out on them next year. Yeah, this is bullshit. We should have never gotten swept by the Bulls this year. Some of these games that we lost to the Bulls this year were so freaking close and just barely lost to them. And then the one last night, a rout. The other thing that made us lose last night is not only the growing growth of the nucleus of the Chicago Bulls, which is similar to us. I'm not going to lie. They're very similar to us as far as they've got a nice young nucleus, and Billy Donovan has a plan to grow them to something, just like Darko has a plan to grow us to something. The other thing is, and this is something I forget, you can play a back-to-back against a really good team the night before, and you could be very tired the next day. But there's another side effect that can happen in the NBA also, and this is what happened last night. You play a team like the Thunder, the best team in the league, the best record in the league. They've only lost once the Eastern Conference this season. And, well, you just played the creme de la creme. The absolute best. The probable MVP of the league, our Canadian SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. So when you play the Thunder, you get revved up. You get revved up real good with excellence because you're just playing a badass team that's playing at a very high level and kicking your ass, right? So I think that what happened was the Bulls played the Thunder the night before. They played a very competitive, high level game with the Thunder. They lost, but they didn't like losing, of course. And they wanted to clinch the play in last night because they knew before the game, if they won, they were going to be in the play in for sure. So they had things to play for last night. And they also just played the best team in the league and they rubbed off on them. So I think that's what happened because the Bulls played on a high level last night, the whole entire game. And Darko said after the game, we didn't play good defense the whole entire game either. I mean, seriously, we let them score 39 points in the first quarter, and then they scored 30 plus points for the rest of the game. They had over 100 points before the end of the fourth quarter. And that means the Raptors defense that we've been touting and talking about in the last week or so being the best defense since the All-Star break. Well, it wasn't there last night. We may have the best defense in the NBA in March, but in April, April Fools, we ain't got no good defense because the Bulls running roughshod on us. Bulls on parade, Rage Against the Machine. Jacoby in his post-game interview said, the problem was this is the thing. They came out really good. The Raptors came out and doubled up the Bulls in the first quarter. It was like 16-8 or something like that, or 30 to like 15 or something. And we kicked their butt. But then they went on a little run, and they didn't stop running. They ran for the rest of the game after that. It's like we had our little run where we got ahead, and we doubled them up at the very beginning of the game. It looked awesome. All the guys were hitting threes. Nobody could miss. It was awesome. IQ was amazing. And then the Bulls kept going. And Jacoby said that we had defensive lapses. And the thing about the Bulls is that they're very good transition team. And what they did was they ran it down us. They just ran down the court, and we didn't get the chance to engage with our defense normally like we have been doing because the Bulls moved the ball too quickly around, and they just found gaps, and they were able to score at will. And the Raptors were totally ineffective in guarding them. And they scored almost every single possession that they had the ball because it's like crazy. I was getting pissed off. Some of it was weird because like Scotty was trying to block people in the first quarter, in the first half. And he would be a one step or a half step too behind on the player and just missing coming to block them. There were probably about 3 or 4 block shots he could have got if he was almost there just a split second earlier. And it was annoying. And then, the Giddey and them push the ball so fast down the court that they really do put you on your heels. And in some ways, that was a big problem and a reason why they just kept us on our heels, and we were backtracking, and they were so aggressive. Also, the Raptors were very much putting the emphasis on development last night too. We could have obviously hung with them a little bit better for stretches of game if we weren't putting the 4 J-Rooks and Orlando Robinson out there as our lineup. I love that lineup. I think that's the ultimate development time that the Raptors are doing right now when you have Jacoby, Jameson, Jamal, and Jonathan out there with Orlando Robinson. But that team is not a good defensive team in some ways because of a lack of experience. And they found themselves out there for a couple of different stints and shifts against the starters of the Bulls. And that's where separation can get even further as far as they have a lead. They took the lead, and then, they're up by 10 all of a sudden. Then they're up by 20 all of a sudden. Because there's times out there when we have a very, very inexperienced team, and they're playing Vucevic and Giddey and Kobe White and Kevin Huerter. And, that team's going to have more experience, and they're going to know what they're doing better, and they're going to school the youngsters. That's just how it is. Now, it's interesting. That core for Chicago, like I said, they have a lot of potential. I don't like Lonzo Ball on this team anymore. I think they need to get rid of Lonzo Ball. He's been a waste of time this whole entire time for the Bulls. In fact, he kind of fucked up the Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan period because they would have probably been better off without his big, huge albatross contract around there. If they could have gotten other people that could have played while he was out, man, DeMar and Zach might have worked out in Chicago if it wasn't for Lonzo Ball. I'm just gonna say. But now that they're going to somewhere else, Josh Giddey is the man. Josh Giddey is Scotty Barnes for the Bulls. And he's really working really well with Kobe White, Kevin Herter, and Matis Buzelis. And then you still got Vucevic around, who's a solid big man. That team is good. That team is very, very good. And Billy Donovan's a great coach. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Bulls for what they did last night, even if we didn't like it as Raptors fans. You know, they're similar to us. They're a team on the rise. They're growing. In some ways, I wouldn't say Orlando's like this anymore. Orlando's backtracked this year. But Chicago has come and stepped forward with some of the changes with their personnel and their roster to look like they have a better shot for next year. You know, Kobe White is so annoying. I'm just going to say that right now. That man cannot be stopped by the Raptors this year for some reason. I don't know why. It's really, really annoying. So, yeah, Jacoby Walter said that, you know, we let them get to feeling good, that, you know, our defense could not agitate them or get them stymied. And the confidence grew for the Bulls as the game went on, and they just didn't miss. They were shooting so well last night, and they were just really, really effective at converting and making a lot of points. And that's just how it is. Sometimes there's games like this. You know, the Raptors started strong. Everybody's hitting threes. We had Orlando Robinson hitting threes. You know, Jacoby was a fantastic 5 for 5 from three last night. Emmanuel was very, very good from three last night. Certain people were hitting threes, and we were kicking ass. But at some point that went away, but the Bulls didn't. They continued to hitting threes, and it's just what it is, a rout. And, well, it helps the ping pong balls. We don't lose no matter what, even though we just got eliminated from the playoffs, because this helps us with our position for the draft. And, I mean, I was with Monique and a lot of people last night where we were like, damn, I wish we'd won. It sucks. I don't like getting swept by any team in this league. And the Bulls are not good enough for us to have been swept by them. Some of the games this year were so close, and we just kind of got screwed. That overtime game, and then the very narrow loss the first time we played them this year. C'est la vie. We keep the receipts, and we come back around next year, and we make sure we do not lose every single game of the Bulls next year and get some revenge. Scotty, take note. Put this bookmark on this one. And make sure we remember this for next year when we come around to them on the schedule. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm shocked at how well the Bulls played for not being so tired from the day before. And also just the really, really, the other thing is they're at a high level. They're amped up. Like I said, they played the Thunder, and they're playing for something. They wanted to play for the play-in, and they got it. And, you know, they're not a team that's tanking right now. That's the other thing. In some ways, that energy, you can see how different it is. We've been playing so many bad teams lately that are not out there trying to do anything right. Well, we played a team that was out there trying to do something right, and you see the difference. You see the difference in what happened. And it also gives us a little bit more of a realistic view of our developing young players on our team and where they really are. Because in some ways they've overachieved and they've looked really, really good, but partly it's because against some really bad competition. But the Bulls are good competition. They have something to play for still, and they're not tanking. And that's part of what happened last night. So, yeah, it is what it is. Let's see. I'm sorry about losing all your comments, Trevor. It's the stupid microphone did not want to work today. This mic is not being used today because it didn't want to hook up. I don't know. It may have been because I tried to use the light today too. But we'll see. I'm going to try and work this all out. It's still work in progress. At least I got power. At least I got heat. At least I got water. At least I got internet. And I'm back in my house. Yeah, I'm so glad you can hear me, Mo. And we back. That's right. G's saying games like yesterday show how valuable RJ is. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, RJ would have helped with this a bit. I think that the big problem was we did not play defense correctly. Jacoby also said this after the game, that a lot of the guys wanted, after we got down, they wanted to try and be hero ball. And we weren't sharing the ball as well as we should. The ball wasn't moving around as well later in the game as the game went on, because certain guys started reverting to isolation, trying to change and win by going on their own against the other team. And we needed to get back to Darko, share the ball, move the ball around, get the best high percentage shot. And they went away from that. There was a little bit too much. It's not even selfishness. It's just that people were trying themselves to go all out and do it. That's what Jacoby said, that he felt like that was part of the problem last night. Yeah, 3-point shooting frenzy. Both teams shot really good from three for the most of the game. The Raptors were really, really hot to start, and they cooled off as the game went on. But yeah, they were both teams shot over 40% from three last night, including us. We shot 44%, 20 of 45 from 3-point range. They were 14 of 34. Of course, the Bulls don't rely as much on the 3-point shot. A lot of it is transition and fast break points that they like to go get. Yeah, and they shot, the thing is, they shot 57% from the field, which is a really, really too high field goal percentage for a team opposing the Raptors. That means we ain't playing defense right. And Darko said that. He was very, very not happy with the defense of our team last night, that this was not a normal night for us. Now, I would say this once again, there's certain nights in the NBA that you cannot miss, and everything goes your way and you go win no matter what, even against a team that you shouldn't have beat. And then there's going to be nights where you're going to have a bad night and everything's just not going right in some ways. It started like the first part of the game started like the first part I just said. As the game went on, it turned into kind of more different places where the Raptors were not getting lucky breaks with the ball bouncing or even shots going into the rim and coming back out and not actually dropping. There was a lot of that. And then you add in the fact that the refs were being little bitches too. Ray Acosta in particular was not nice. The Raptors very much calling weird ass shit, man. Weird ass shit. And the foul count was really crazy. They only had 9 fouls called on them last night. The Bulls got 9 fouls. Now, is that a symptom of the Raptors being lazy and not being aggressive to get to the basket? No. It's the fact that they didn't call no whistles for us. 9 fouls called for the whole entire game on the Bulls. That's an aberration. That's not normal. Usually every team's going to get double digits in fouls every single game. So the fact that they only called an average of just over 2 fouls per quarter for the Raptors, like against the Bulls, that's messed up. That's messed up because you think about it, that means that there's no chance the Raptors are getting the penalty. There's no chance they're getting any kind of supplemental scoring from the free throw line. And meanwhile, you got things like Josh Giddey driving to the basket in the second half, and he misses the layup, but he didn't. It's so stupid. He had a layup, and I didn't even see that he got fouled. I don't think he got fouled. And Ray Acosta waited to see if the shot went in. The shot did not go in, and then he called the foul. And it was weird because I swear I saw Josh Giddey go over to Ray Acosta and tell him himself, they didn't foul me. Why are you calling a foul? And Ray Acosta said, no, they did foul you. You're going to the line. He's like, what? They didn't foul me. Like Josh Giddey himself was telling the ref, why'd you call foul? Because they didn't foul me. And they say, no, you got fouled. Ray Acosta's like, you got fouled. Go to the line. Shoot some free throws. And Josh was like confused. Did you see that part when that happened? I swear that's what happened, is that Josh Giddey himself, who was benefiting from the free throws, was like, what the fuck are you doing, Ray Acosta? Putting me on the line. They didn't foul me. It was so weird. And then we got stuff like IQ's coming back the other way, and he gets fouled, and he's lofting a 3 as he's getting fouled. And they're like, no shot, even though he hit the rim with the shot that he just kind of threw crazy at the basket. They still wouldn't give it. They sided out and said, no, that's not a shot. What do you mean it's not a shot? The man got hit on the arm, and he still got the ability to throw the ball all the way at the rim, and y'all made a side out of bounds, not a foul on the shot. That is bullshit. IQ should have shot 3 free throws on that play. And then there was another play earlier where Jakob got a clean block, but somehow it was a foul. I was like, wait, what? Wait, that was a clean block. Block-up just block-upped. And you're calling a foul on Yak for that play? That didn't make no sense. So there was ref manipulation last night, but it didn't matter. They were kicking our ass anyway without the ref manipulation. Just Ray Acosta added a little bit of ref manipulation in the middle of it anyway. And he was such a little bitch about it. Curtis Blair was not on our side last night either. He was calling things a little bit weird. Jenna Schroeder was okay, though. She was okay. But Ray Acosta was a little bitch, like he always is, to the Raptors. He's annoying, man. Let's just put it that way. 9 fouls total called for the Bulls. We got 20 on our side. And I'm not going to complain about that and say that's why we lost. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out the ref manipulation that I saw last night. And it emanated around Ray Acosta, just so y'all know. He was pretty bad. He was not fair to the Raptors at all, in my opinion, as far as things. So, yeah, let's see what else you guys are saying here. Trevor, this is Trevor's words of wisdom. I'm really glad you reposted it, Trevor. I'm really glad to see it. It takes a lot of courage to push through hard times. Never give up. Good things are coming your way. Believe that. Struggle never lasts long, but weakness do. Weakness do? Yeah, stay strong if you can. And if you can't be strong, hopefully there's people there that can help you. And if other people around you can't be strong, you can be strong for them, all hopefully too. Community and teamwork and being there for each other is important in times of trouble. And we need to establish our community bonds and understand, people are there for you and you're not alone. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to go through the hard times, and it looks like hard times are coming. So hard times make hard people, and we're going to be ready. That's what I got to say. Thank you for the words of wisdom, Trevor J. Happy birthday to Pascal Siakam. He is 31 years old today. I consider him one of the top 4 all-time greatest Raptors of all time. And I am very, very happy with Siakam. There's a clip that's out with Siakam talking to the old man in the 3, which is JJ Redick's old podcast, talking about how he didn't realize when he was playing on the Raptors in 2019, won the championship, that it wasn't going to be like this forever. Like he was in his 3rd year, and he was just kind of like, man, it was so awesome. I loved all the guys on my team. We were winning. We were so good. I just figured we would be like this for a while. Well, Kawhi left. You guys were still really good, but then there was a pandemic. Then there was all this other stuff and bullshit. And Siakam, we saw it in real time as Raptors fans. It's kind of weird to hear him say it in an interview that it was hard to go from the championship high of the 2019 championship team to the years that came after because of the losing and things like Tampa and just having a hard time struggling after being so good, like early in his career. I really found that such an interesting interview with Siakam and the old man in the 3, because it really does show that when you come into the league, you don't really know what to expect. You got to see what it's like. And then, nothing is for sure forever. You really got to go with the flow and really take advantage of the best opportunities you get to go for the championship. So it's really interesting to hear as Pascal matures and gets older, as he's turning 31 today, that he has the hindsight to look back and say just how special the 2019 championship for the Toronto Raptors and that team and that nucleus and his friends on that team were. And that is, in some ways, it's not common, is what he said. That bench mob feeling he had with his friends on the team at that time, Fred and Jakob and Norman and everybody. In some ways, he can't replace that feeling. And later in his career, he can get along with his Pacer teammates. He could be part of the Pacers franchise, but it will never, ever be like the Toronto bench mob, is what he's saying. So it's an interesting interview. If you guys can catch that episode with Pascal on the old man in the 3, you'll hear him talk about how he didn't realize how good he had it when he was on the Raptors early in his career. He didn't realize it until he went through tough times with the Raptors afterwards. So, yeah, happy birthday to Siakam. He's not the only birthday today. It's also the 50th birthday of Nate Huffman, former Raptor Nate Huffman. And it's the 50th birthday of the great radio broadcaster for the Toronto Raptors, Eric Smith. And in fact, I read a message to Eric Smith on IG this morning, and he's already written me back. I said, happy 50th birthday, Eric Smith. And he said, thanks, Alexi. So there you go. Eric Smith, salute to you. A great original media person for the Raptors from the very near the start. I give him pretty much the 30 years, even though he's not technically totally the 30 years. But Eric Smith, Fan 590, all the great things, Smith and Jones podcast. We love you, Eric, and happy 50th birthday. I'll be coming to be 50 later this year, so you're the rabbit, my guy. Yeah, but it's nice to, celebrate the birthdays. Happy birthday, Pascal. Happy birthday, Nate Huffman. And happy birthday, Eric Smith. Of the radio broadcast. Yeah, Eric Smith's awesome. He's a really, really good dude. He's a very good professional, and he's very good at radio. He's very, very good. I remember Eric when he was younger, when he first started at Fan 590, and he did a lot of like the sports updates. And he would come in. This is Eric Smith with the Fan 590 sports updates, 10 to the hour, and he'd give us all the news about this. He's come so far, and he really is a Raptors original, and he is a basketball first person, which I really appreciate. I really, really appreciate. Trevor J saying that his stars of the game were IQ, Jacoby, AJ Lawson, and Orlando Robinson. I have a little bit of a different stars of the game. I was going to give it to IQ, but then I looked at his stats, and I was like, you know what? He did good. He shot really well. He's my honorable mention, but I'm not going to give him one of the stars today because I can only give 3 stars, and I feel like there's 3 other guys I want to give stars to. But I really thought I was going to give a star to IQ. I mean, I'll start by talking about him as far as he was 7 for 14, 50%, and he was shooting all kinds of crazy shots. As Monique described him, he's so smooth tonight. And I believe that's one of the best words to describe him, Mo. You're right. He was very smooth. And some of the stuff was in the lane with the floaters and the little shots. And then like he just seemed dialed in. All the threes were looking real good for the most part. 7 of 14 for Emmanuel, 3 of 7 from 3, 1 rebound. I also like that he got 9 assists with only 1 turnover. He did have 1 steal, 17 points, a -6, 24 minutes. Yeah, Emmanuel was great, but honestly, for him to have, I was saying, I think he's having his best game of his Raptors career, shooting wise, he was. But overall, in the end, I mean, and part of it is because these guys are not playing their full minutes. You know, that 24 minutes for Yak, Emmanuel, and Scotty. They all only got half the game. They only played half the game, and normally these guys are going to be playing 3/4 of the game, if not most of the game. And that's the thing. Because like Tristan or somebody was saying in the chat, like, why is Scotty slumping? I was like, it's not Scotty slumping. Scotty is getting his minutes cut. And his production is not as high, partly because he's just not out on the court as much. Plus, you also got to figure in these guys are not playing in clutch moments either, where it's agitated. They're playing in more easier, kind of go with the flow moments of the game. And they, you know, it's not that they're being lazy or lackadaisical. It's just that they're in the parts of the game where it's not like contentious in some ways. It's just the body of the game. So yeah, Emmanuel's honorable mention. I'll start there. I'm not giving him one of the stars. My star of the game is actually AJ Lawson, guys. AJ Lawson came into this game and he got a point per minute production. 13 minutes for AJ. He scored 13 points and he shot 5 of 6, which is really good considering you got to figure that in Long Island Nets and Raptors 905 and even up on the Raptors, AJ's gotten shooting like 2 for 14 at times and stuff like that. So him shooting 5 for 6 and being very efficient, I got to reward him because all year, one of the biggest battles AJ Lawson has had is being an efficient person and not being a high usage. I shoot a lot of shots and miss a lot of shots. So 5 for 6 is fantastic. 2 of 3 from 3, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds also with an assist. It's 13 points in 13 minutes. I like that. And I wanted to give the kid from Brampton some shine for that. Seriously. Because, AJ has had struggles with being efficient, and he had a very efficient game last night. My second star of the game is Jacoby, and mainly because he got 5 for 5 from 3. He was so money on 3. In fact, he's part of the reason why we look so good from 3 is because every time Jacoby took a shot from 3, he made it. 5 for 5, 6 for 10 overall. So he only made 1 shot that wasn't a 3. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. -12 with 17 points. So yeah, Jacoby to me is my second star. And partly it's just because of the shooting from 3 is really good. And he was very active too. Some ways we were slow to get the loose balls. A lot of the guys on the team, like there was a lot of like out of position kind of stuff happening where the Bulls just happened to be lucky and be in the right spot to get, like, especially on second chance shots. The Bulls would shoot a shot. Usually they make it, but on the shots that they'd miss, they're all of a sudden Vucevic or somebody else is getting a second chance because there's an offensive rebound. And a lot of that was because the ball was bouncing away where we weren't. There were a couple times where the ball was bouncing where we weren't, and Jacoby ran it down and made sure he went and got it. So I love the hustle by Walter. And, man, it was just tough. Sometimes the ball don't bounce your way. And there was a little bit of that going on for the Raptors last night. My third star is a guy who just got in right at the end of the game, and that's Jared Rhoden. I'm so proud of Jared. Jared did not really get to play in this game. He only got in at garbage time when it was a rout. He came in for 4 minutes, but that man put up points in 4 minutes. That man got 8 points in the last 4 minutes of game. Now, granted, it is against the bench, the Bulls, and it's not totally their starters like the rest of the guys, but he took that brass ring when he got out there, even though he's had an ankle injury and he's been kind of not totally, he's been sharp on 905, getting 40-point games down there, but he filled it up right away. 3 for 3 for Jared Rhoden at the end of the game. He made his only 3-point attempt, made his only free throw, 1 assist, 8 points in 4 minutes. That's some point production. And he was also kind of doing some good stuff defensively, just kind of good guarding and stuff. So those are my 3 stars: AJ, Jacoby, and Jared Roden. Because like in some ways, I'm really impressed with Lawson and Roden's point per minute that they did between the two of them. They got 21 points in 17 minutes. So that's pretty impressive to me, honestly. But honorable mention for Emmanuel. I'll honorable mention Orlando Robinson also. The thing I liked about Orlando last night was he hit those threes really confidently. He had 3 threes last night. He took 7 shots from outside, 3 of 7 from outside. 4 of 11 overall, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. He did have 5 fouls, 13 points in 21 minutes. Very active, but in some ways also he was hurting us because he's a little slower. And some of the stuff that they were doing getting in the lane, he just wasn't there in time to stop them. But then again, a very fast person named Scotty Barnes was not there in time to stop them either. So I can't get mad at Orlando for that, especially if Scotty's having the same issues with trying to get to those guys. Jakob was solid, 5 for 8. 2 for 2 from free throws, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 12 points. Just it's a ho hum game for Yak, and I didn't like that. Like in some ways, you should be matching Vucevic with Yak. Like I really wish that Darko would do this more. It's like matchup. If you got a big man and they got a big man, put their minutes mirroring each other. Like in some ways, pay attention to when Vooch is coming out and take Yak out then. I know that Darko has a set rotation, and in some ways he's doing it just when he's doing it. Like there were a couple periods where, like I said, they had the J Rooks and O-Rob out there for like almost every quarter for at least like a couple minutes each quarter. And, those periods of times were when the Bulls would get a little bit separation from us because our team wasn't as good defensively in some ways. Then they were just picking the rookies apart. The guys like Herder and Buzelis and Kobe White, especially, if they can figure things out, they will pick young players apart, like on the defensive end, that don't know exactly all the tricks and the things to do. So Jamison Battle got the start. I got the starting lineup correct when I predicted it. I only thing I got wrong in the starting lineups yesterday was Patrick Williams didn't start. Kevin Herter was available, and he did end up playing. So I got 90% on the starters prediction. 2 for 6 for Jamison Battle, 1 of 3 from 3. That's the thing. He wasn't hitting his threes, and that's what he does. But everybody else was. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 5 points for Jamison. He did do a lot of other stuff there. He did some stat stuff. And Scotty had a little low key of a game, and he didn't really have a whole lot of highlights. He had an interesting stutter step dribble, like dunk in the lane where he kind of waited a sec and then he went for it and he dunked it. And that was pretty cool. But most of it there wasn't a whole lot of Scotty highlights. 4 for 14 for Scott. Not the best shooting. I like the stuff between him and Patrick Williams. Of course, both are Florida State Seminoles, like myself. And there's some shit talk there because in the offseason, Scotty's been playing with Patrick Williams for years. They go back to Tallahassee and they used to go and work with Coach Ham in the Florida State's facilities. And Patrick Williams and Scotty are friends. And there's a certain level of trash talk. And you saw when they were trying to post on each other. There was a lot of like talking and a lot of more like gumption to try and beat the other guy. And Scotty really wanted to hit some turnaround shots over Patrick Williams in particular because there was some trash talk going on there. There really was. Let's see. 4 rebounds for Scott, 4 assists, 2 steals, 9 points for Scotty. He didn't get double digits, but it is what it is. Like I said, he played half the game, 24 minutes, and he wasn't in parts of the game where it's very, very consequential. Let's just put it that way. Off the bench, Cole Schweider had an okay game. Darko had some nice things to say about Cole. He says he's a great shooter, and we believe in him. And there was that moment when Cole was at the sideline, and Darko was giving him words of encouragement and trying to get him going. I could tell Cole at the beginning of the game didn't shoot well, and he was missing a lot, and he was starting to beat himself up. I could tell he's getting in his head. On the bench, he looked really upset. But he did get back out there and he started to hit a couple shots and he started to feel better then. But yeah, Cole Schweider, 3 for 8, and they're all 3-point shots, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 9 points for Cole. Yeah, I'm worried. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, it's tough, man. This league is so tough. And man, you can be a really good shooter, like one of the best shooters in the world, but that's not enough in the NBA. You're going to have to be tall. You're going to have to be able to play some defense too, to a certain extent. Jonathan Mobo off the bench, 2 for 6, 2 for 2 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, a minus 22, which is one of the worst ones. 6 points for him. In some ways, I love Jonathan. I love his energy. But once again, he's a novice. He's a newer player. He's a rookie. And there's holes in his game mentally and things that he's got to take care of and look out for. And he'll get better and better. I believe in him. And then Jamal Shed, the final J-Rook I'll cover here. 3 of 11. Not the best shooting for him. 1 of 6, 1 of 5 from 3. 5 assists with 2 turnovers and 1 steal. 9 points for Jamal. Yeah, he wasn't as sharp as he could have been. In some ways, he had a tall order trying to contain Kobe White. That's a really hard defensive assignment. And forget about the offensive stuff. Just trying to contain Kobe White is not easy. It's not easy. So it's tough. No DMP for Chris and Garrett still. Yeah. The other side, let me give some shine to Kobe White. 10 of 16 from the field, 28 points. Vucevic, 22 points himself, 9 of 12 from the field with 10 rebounds. You know, he can stick around with this nucleus, and they could be something pretty good next year. Seriously. Kevin Herter, 7 of 9 with 16 points himself. And Giddey, double-double with 17 points and 12 assists. Off the bench, this guy hurt us. And this guy, maybe the guy who shouldn't have been hurting us, is THT, Talon Horton Tucker. How the hell are y'all getting beat down by THT like this? 27 points on the bench for this guy. He was operating. He was talking shit, too, because he was, like, being able to beat some of our guys. In some ways, I wish he hadn't beat Scotty a couple times in some ways. The guys came in late. They had rookies. And we saw Leonard Miller's brother out there at the end of the game, Emmanuel Miller from Scarborough. And there was a moment at the free throw line with him and AJ Lawson where they were talking because they're Toronto mans and saying, look where we're at, bro. And they were smiling and kind of laughing with each other because they're probably old friends. Emmanuel Miller and AJ Lawson from Toronto Hoops and being around our city. So that's cool. I like Emmanuel Miller, and I want the Raptors to try and acquire him. I'd like him to come home and play on the Raptors because he's like I said, he's kind of like a Jimmy Butler kind of player. He looks a little bit like him, and he has the same kind of playing style as Jimmy Butler. And that's not a bad thing to have on your team. I'm just saying. And then, of course, Jalen Smith came in late. It's partly because he's been hurt and he's coming back from an injury. He's not really the end of the bench. But you could tell he wasn't getting up and down the court very fast or well. He's very lumbersome. So he's just trying to get back into things. So, yeah, interesting team, man. The nucleus of the Bulls, I like it better right now without Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine. I like it better. I think that with Giddey is the right centerpiece for this whole thing. And, man, Herter and Bazelis with him, along with Kobe White, that's a dangerous little foursome right there. Vucevic added to it, yeah. That's a dangerous little foursome. So, yeah, it's tough, man. We got routed by the Bulls last night. It is what it is, you know. Nins is saying, I fucking hate Kobe White now. He's nice, but, man, the refs love him. Yeah, he's got a little weird flippiness to his game, and the refs love calling fouls to help him out and get the line. Yeah, there was that one play where he definitely got fouled, and they didn't call anything. He got really mad. He did get fouled, but they didn't call it. I don't know. The refs are really inconsistent with how they're calling stuff at this point. It's really kind of weird. Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Of course, they don't give any shine or respect to Jacoby. Jacoby does anything. He's not getting fouls. That's the normal for Raptors starting in their young career. But Mattis Bazelis, he can get fouls. He's a rookie. It's like, what the fuck? You know, why doesn't Jacoby Walter get fouls and go to the line? But Bazelis, he's a rookie. He is there. Like, what the fuck, Ray Acosta? Man, these guys are punk asses. Yeah, Monique saying, booked my last ride for the season today. Ugh, I know. This is something we dread. We're going to be back on that countdown that Mo does in the offseason till the next Raptor game. Well, let's savor these last few games and really, really enjoy them and just have a good time. There's no pressure. We're out of the playoffs, and we're just going to do what we're going to do. And now we got Portland tomorrow with a back-to-back with Detroit coming on Friday. And maybe that Beef Stew is going to be suspended for the Pistons game on Friday. He got a 2-game suspension for the fight with Minnesota. And I think that, yeah, he will miss the game against us. It's the second game that he's going to get suspended for. So we won't see Beef Stew ahead of time because of the suspension from the fight this weekend. Trevor's saying the Warriors beat the Grizzlies, and Steph Curry got 52 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 12 threes, and Buddy Hield And John Morant got technical fouls for showing gun signs to each other, and they got ejected from the game. Yeah, Ja, you're an idiot, man. With your history and what's happened with you in the last couple of years, you can't be doing that shit out there. I don't like the trend in general around the NBA where guys are doing like this like stuff after games. I mean, some of it's okay. Some guys are like Pascal used to do it when he ran out with a blah 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 blah. I'm like, don't do that, Siakam. We don't need to do this. Gun violence is a bad thing. And y'all are doing your interviews after the game. It says stop end gun violence behind you. And meanwhile, the NBA players are like mimicking shooting guns on the court all the time, which I don't agree with. This is something that a lately trend that I just don't like. I just don't like it. Maybe I'm being an old fuddy duddy. Maybe I'm being over controlling like the NBA on it, but it's just not the right message for society. And we want, peace. And like, we don't want these NBA players making it cool to make gun signs on basketball courts and places and stuff like that. I don't know. The freeze is something different. The freeze is different. It's down here. But when you're like holding your hand up like you're holding a gun after you make a shot, I'm not into like banning stuff, but I think it's such a horrible look for NBA players to do this. And it's specifically Ja Morant. What the fuck are you thinking, bro? Seriously, what the fuck are you thinking? This whole thing, there's an article on ESPN now about the firing of Taylor Jenkins and why it happened. And now it makes more sense. They really elaborated why. It's partly because they didn't like Taylor Jenkins' assistant coaches because they felt like they weren't going anywhere with them. And so they brought in some new assistant coaches that weren't his. And he told them to fire all of his assistant coaches last summer. So this whole season, Taylor Jenkins has been working with two assistant coaches that were really kind of designing the offense underneath him. And the players were like listening to them more than they were listening to him. At a certain point, it wasn't about Taylor Jenkins being the head coach of the team anymore. That guy, the Finnish guy, who's the new head coach, was really kind of running their offense underneath him. And the players started tuning out Jenkins on the down low because it's like, it was weird. It's like the Grizzlies decided they wanted to shift into a new place. And they're doing it in a weird schedule. And the reasoning for why they did it now is that they don't have any time to waste because they're worried about losing Morant or something like that without having success. And in some ways, they felt like they're spinning their wheels with Taylor Jenkins. I mean, I get all that. That makes sense. But yeah, it's stupid. And Ja Morant was a factor in his firing because he didn't want to do some of the stuff that he wanted him to do. Jenkins wanted him to do. And then, he was disenchanted with that. And then they started doing something else with pick and rolls, and it just got to be a mess. So it was really kind of the Grizzlies were ready to go into the new phase of their franchise already, and they don't want to waste a playoff chance because they are already expecting this is so bad. The owners of the Grizzlies had already predicted that Taylor Jenkins and the Grizzlies would be out in the first round. They didn't even get a chance. They might not have. But they're always saying, oh, we just expect you're going to be out in the first round, so we might as well just fire you now, is what they said. That's what the owner said. They said, we expect you to lose in the first round, so we're just going to fire you now. It's crazy. So, yeah, that's a little bit more details about the mystery surrounding the firing of Taylor Jenkins. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. There were some big games last night. Steph Curry getting 50 points. That's fantastic at his age. And then Jokic. Wow. Holy crap. Jokic got a triple-double with over 60 points last night. It's crazy. And I think they still lost. That's the craziest thing about it. The Nuggets did all that, and they still lost by 1 point to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jokic got a triple-double and scored over 60 points last night. That's insane, man. That's insane. Yeah, so smooth. See, Mo's saying IQ so smooth. He looked really good the way he's moving out there. Now, there's a ESPN power rankings out. It's stupid. In some ways, they are already gloating that we're eliminated from the playoffs really quick. They don't pay attention to us all year, but they're right on the breaking news as soon as we're eliminated from the playoffs and the power rankings. One of the things they're saying that is important for the Raptors for the rest of the season on ESPN, according to them, is more time with Scottie and IQ on the court and allowing them to continue to develop good chemistry. And I think that that's something we've been doing along with the J-Rook kind of development with the rookies. We are developing chemistry with the starters and allowing them to have time out there playing together. And IQ and Scottie in particular. IQ and Scotty in particular. Smooth's here. Good to see Smooth. Good morning. I don't know if Scotty Barnes is the number one option, man. He hasn't been able to string together a set of games to indicate he can be that, especially in the last month playing against tanking teams. Well, I'm going to piggyback on what I said just a second ago. Is Scotty's had his minutes cut. All of his production is not full right now, and you can't gauge anything about his outputs right now. Now, I get why you're saying he's not totally an alpha mindset as far as trying to go and take everything and win that way, but he is on the down low in other areas. It's really how you want to look at the game, Reggie. Do you want to look at it as scoring is the most important thing in the whole entire world? Or do you want to look at it as a team glue guy kind of doing everything in the moment that is needed at that moment, whether it's steal, block, rebound, or something? That's the thing. Once again, his player build is not superstar franchise like scorer. It's franchise player that's in the middle of everything. He's like a Bill Russell. He's like a Magic Johnson. And those guys were not the leading scorers on their team, but they were absolutely the most important players on their teams because they were the gears that made the machine go. And I'm totally fine with that. Well, I've said this recently. I'd rather have a player like Scott the way he is than a player that's absolutely what you're describing. Because in some ways, a player like Scott allows for more people on the team like RJ, Brandon, IQ to be that guy that then, it's in some ways, it's really actually a very much an advantage that Scotty Barnes, our highest paid player, is like this player build. It really is an advantage because he's going to make everybody else better. And that's part of why Bobby and Masai were so happy when they got him. I mean, people want an NBA player that's a superstar to be a leading scorer. I don't understand that totally myself because I'm old head, but it's the newer age. And I know you're not a young person. You're an old head like me. So, we need to think about it this way, Reggie, that it doesn't matter what Scott scores. Doesn't matter if he takes over and wins the game for us because he can win the game for us with a block shot. He can win the game for us with a steal. And that's fine with me. That's fine with me. I mean, is RJ the number one option? Probably. Maybe Brandon will be next year. And I have no problem with that. And Scott doesn't either. And that's another reason why he's a badass like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these tanking games, they're not. That's the thing. I know in the Charlotte game last week, Scotty could have scored 50 against the Hornets if he wanted to. But in some ways, that's just not his mentality. And that's not what he's trying to accomplish and not how he's trying to build his game over the years. He could be super selfish. He could be egotistical. He could be very much me, and be very selfish. And he could be very successful doing that. It's just not his personality. And I accept him for who he is. I love him for it. In fact, I think it's actually a strength, the way, like what you're bringing up here. I think it's a strength. I don't think this is a problem. I think this is actually a really big strength. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can't gauge Scotty on this stuff right here. There's winning things that he's doing that matter that do not have to do with scoring. Let's see. Nako saying Chicago has good players. They're so guard heavy, though. We didn't see Ayo Desumo. Looking forward to BI getting healthy. Jacoby looked good. Yeah, I would say this, Gerald, about your comment there. I think they've got very good players too. Giddey is a natural leader for them, and in some ways, he's like Scott. He's very much like Scott. Like Giddey's not going to be the leading scorer every night, and he's not going to be trying to take over the game and win the game for them. It's more likely Kobe White will. So in some ways, Josh Giddey is a very good example of the type of player that Scotty is. Seriously, he's a very good example. A triple-double threat on a regular basis, and not necessarily the guy who's going to score all the points. Because in some ways, Giddey's not their best shooter. He really isn't. He's really not. Let's see. Yeah, Ios didn't play. I don't know if they're guard heavy. I mean, they've got a good balance on their roster. They do have a real center, and they do have backups for that center for the most part. I mean, maybe they need a backup center. But they have forwards. They have good forwards. They got Smith and Williams, and Giddey is kind of like a guard forward. In some ways, he rebounds like a forward, so he's kind of a forward. I don't know, Nako. I wouldn't count Josh Giddey as a guard. How about that? I wouldn't count him that. I am looking forward to Brandon Ingram getting healthy too. They did something dirty yesterday. We should expect it. A lot of April Fool's jokes out there yesterday. And somebody made a fake shams post that Brandon Ingram would make his debut for the Raptors last night. Yeah, that it doesn't happen like that. And especially since it was April Fool's Day, you should not believe anything that was going on yesterday. The most cruel April Fool's joke was that they told Dallas Mavericks fans that they fired Nico Harrison, which they did not. But that would have been believable to me. But man, Mavs fans, if they saw that and they fell for it on April Fool's Day, man, they were probably feeling pretty good. But then they're like, oh crap, what day is it? Yeah, it's the first day of April. Damn it. I wish Nico had gotten fired. Is probably what they're going to say. Ninja saying, I think Scott can be the number one on our team without being the first scoring option. Maybe I'm tripping. No, I believe that exactly. It's just about shaping your mind to be flexible, to not think about things in a very stringent, conventional way. That's what I think it is right there. And that Scotty gives value in so many other ways. And in fact, like I said, think about this. Magic Johnson and Bill Russell were two of the most winning players in the history of the NBA. Let's add Tim Duncan into this group too. Why not? Because Tim Duncan wasn't always the number one option for the Spurs, was he? No. There were other guys that would score more points for them, like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. So it's like Duncan wasn't necessarily the number one option either, but he was absolutely the number one player for their team and the MVP and the guy who got them there. That's the player we have, is a Duncan, a Johnson, a Russell. And these guys won lots of championships, all three of them. So that's what I'll say to this, Reggie, right here. That's what I'll say to this right here. Yeah. So he's saying, I just think that Scotty being in his fourth year should be showing more. He's showing a lot more. Every single year he's gotten better. I'm sorry. Reggie, you watch my show almost every day. You've heard me saying Scotty's leveled up again. Scotty's leveled up again. I've said that at least 3 times this year on streams where I feel like Scotty just leveled up again, guys. Because there's certain things he's doing, he is building. And it may be to a lot of people, they see it and they just look at the stats and they say, oh, he's not getting anywhere. His stats are down, or he's not shooting threes as well. It's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at how he's handling the game, how much he's reading the game better, how much he's decided. He understands mismatches now. He didn't understand mismatches like 2 years ago. Think about that. He's reading where the small guy is, and he's being more aggressive at getting in the lane. We didn't see that in the first 3 years of his career until this year. So you got to look at different like places. You can't just look at the scoring average. You can't look at the production necessarily on stats. You have to look at the actions on the court and the way he's mentally reading the game. And he's also playing off his teammates. And also, in some ways, you've got to look at him as maturing just as a human being, as a man. He's really grown up a lot. And he's in a good place. And the stuff he's building towards is fantastic. So I can't describe this. You think he should be showing more? We showed a lot to me. And I'm very satisfied with the path he's going down. And I have total faith he's going to be better and better. And, maybe at some point it'll be in a way where it's more apparent to you also. But right now, I see it. I see it already. I think this guy has had his best year as a pro this year. Even though some people would say might have regressed from last year. No, I don't think so. Because he's playing in a different kind of energy. Let's just put it that way. Especially in the last 3 months. Like, he's leveling up like every couple months now. And when he comes back next year, it's going to be totally different, even more. I would love to see a game where he does just absolutely dominate, like classically. Like, there is times where Magic would just say, yeah, I'm going to be the guy tonight, and I'm going to go get 40 or something like that. And I kind of want Scott to do that. I do. I kind of want that. They had the recent Cabby Legends interview with Terrence Ross and Scotty Barnes talking about Subway. And was interesting about that interview is Cabby kept saying that Terrence is one of 4 Raptors that have scored over 50 points. And in some ways, I'm like, Cabby, yeah, say that more around Scott, please. Let him know just how special the club is that Fred and DeMar and Terrence are in. And, go ahead and maybe Scotty might want to be a member of the 50-point scored club. Vince Carter is in it also. And I don't know, maybe that could get him going. I don't know. We'll have to see. Scotty's on his own schedule. Scotty's going to do how he does it. And here's an update on the school thing yesterday, because we found out more about this. The school that was in trouble that Scott helped is in Brampton. It's here in Ontario. It's not in the States. It's up here. And he did give them $80,000. And it is a school for kids with autism. Now, I make a couple jokes about it because in 2022, Scotty Barnes on Twitch made some comment about he ain't messing with no Brampton waste youths. But now he's helping Brampton youths years later. at this point, because it's like there was a weird little famous moment on Scotty Barnes Twitch talking about waste use in Brampton, and that's an old joke. But no, this is very serious, and the people that he gave the money to were very deserving. I just don't like that you guys' first indication is to put guilt on the school for mismanaging their life. That's not the right mentality to have. They're the victim, is victim blaming. And we saw the lady who got the money. She's in the clip. And apparently there's this guy who has a radio show here in Canada, and he was talking about this problem with the school being in trouble, and they needed to raise a certain amount of money by a certain deadline or they were going to lose the school. And Scotty dropped $80,000 to help them make it right just in the nick of time. And this lady came on and said this thank you to Scott. She was so genuine and she was crying. And she's basically saying this is going to allow us to be able to stay open. And I'm so overjoyed. It's amazing. And he did it anonymously. He did not put his name out there. He did not try to let people know, but they found out. And he said that she said, I want to make him dinner now. Like, I want Scotty to come over because I'm so grateful to him as a mom and as a teacher. I want to make dinner for him. And they showed a picture of the kids that this is helping. I can't believe that y'all would even think that this school is the problem. Because seriously, there's tough times right now. Doug Ford is cutting education funding for people all over the place. And these people may have been affected by that. And Scotty, well, he's a hero for it. And some people will make some dumb comments about, well, he's just helping autistic kids, like, because he has allegations. Like, no, this is a serious thing that is prevalent around the world. In some ways, like I said, I have autism and I am proud of that. I'm not pissed off or trying to hide it. So it's like when people come at Scott with that kind of energy, even if Scotty is or not autistic, I have no fucking idea. It's not up to me to know whatever. It doesn't matter because you can be a human being and do everything in your life like anybody else can. It's just a bullying way to fucking put something on somebody with a label. And so I don't know. In some ways, this thing's so beautiful that Scott gave money to this school in Brampton and helped them in their darkest hour. And man, when I saw that clip of the kids and the teacher, I was like, man, Scotty is a saint. Scotty is a saint for doing this. And it's so full circle with Brampton. I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Most saying, Lex, me and you are going to have to keep each other entertained this offseason. Yeah, for sure, Mo. I promise. This will be the last offseason, God willing, that we will have Noah WNBA with Toronto Tempo, and we will have it next year. And that'll make the summer go back faster, is because we'll have tempo games to deal with, just like we deal with Raptor games. And I'm going to be just as intense about the tempo franchise as I am about the Raptors, because I love basketball. And if there's a Toronto basketball team in the WNBA, that's my team. And we're going to get crazy about it. Now, this summer is going to be a little difficult too, because we don't have things like the Olympics, and it's going to be a grind. And in some ways, we'll figure out how to make it fun this summer for sure, Mo. And I appreciate you riding with me through the off season, because I know you'll be there with me. A lot of Raptors people are going to take the summer off, not Lex. Raptors Freak is 365 days a year. And people can talk Raptors with me every single day. That's right. So yesterday, y'all, I went to Bar Burrito. And this is going to be my straight goods on Canadian goods segment for today. I've been doing a new segment where I talk about Canadian items that y'all can buy. Well, Bar Burrito is a Canadian franchise, 100% Canadian owned here from Ontario, as they opened it in the 90s. And I went to a Bar Burrito in Bradford and had lunch yesterday, and I got the Grady Crunchy Chicken Box. Yeah, I tried the Grady box, and I asked the lady behind the counter, did Grady make this recipe? And she said, yes, this is what he likes, and this was his choice for what he likes to eat. So I want to give my review on the Grady crispy chicken box, which comes with a burrito with crispy chicken in it, and guacamole, and some corn, and some sour cream, and some barbecue sauce. And then it comes with some extreme fries and extreme chips, which is basically like nachos with meat and sour cream and all that stuff. It was good. It was very good. It's nice. But yeah, I like Bar Burrito because it's Canadian. And this is another area where people can really boycott the United States. Don't go to the American fast food chains. Go to the Canadian ones. I went to St. Louis ribs and wings last night to watch the game, and that is a Canadian franchise once again. You can do a little bit of research, just a little bit of research, and understand the origin place of where these franchises are from, and that can change whether you're going to go there or not. Obviously, McDonald's is American. Obviously, Burger King and Wendy's is American. Chick-fil-A is American. And I'm just saying, if you really want to be real about Canada Strong and supporting our country, you do not deal with those companies either. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, I don't give a shit. We can figure out the alternatives. And Bar Burrito is a great fast food alternative that is Canadian. And what a great thing. You can go in there and get the Kelly Classic or the Grady Crunchy Chicken Box. In fact, Bar Burrito has a fantastic thing going on tomorrow, y'all. Let me tell you about this. I'm going to tell you this right now. Tomorrow is actually National Burrito Day. I don't know if y'all knew this, but April 3rd is called National Burrito Day. And to celebrate, Bar Burrito is going to have regular size burritos for just $6.99 in celebration of National Burrito Day. So y'all go get Bar Burrito tomorrow on National Burrito Day, and you can get a $6.99 regular burrito, and you can, for $1 more, make it a bowl. Yeah, so it was awesome. The Kelly, classic Kelly is hard to make, apparently. The girl behind the counter is like, I'm so glad you didn't want the Kelly, because it's difficult to make. And the other thing about the Kelly, the classic Kelly, is it's super spicy. Like Kelly's recipe has so much spice in all kinds of different ways, jalapenos and all kinds of stuff in there. And for me, with a troubled tummy, I'm not trying to mess with that. So I went with the Grady chicken box. But yeah, it was good. I liked it. I'll give it a good recommendation. If y'all want to go to Bar Burrito and check out what a fuss is all about with the commercials around the Raptors games right now. Yeah, go get that Grady crunchy chicken box on Burrito Day tomorrow, man. There's your straight goods on Canadian goods for today. Yeah, support Canadian franchises that are owned by Canadians up here and stop going to McDonald's. How about that? That's what I say right there. Yeah, boom goes the dynamite. Let's go. Smith's saying, I mean, he's great as a third guy, in my opinion, the glue guy, with Ingram in the fold next year. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it's going to be, Smooth. He's not even going to be the second option. No, it may be not even the third option. It could be RJ and Brandon and IQ and then Scotty. It could even be that Grady and Jacoby are above him as the options. It's not a big deal. I mean, players have different eras of their career. They have different parts of times in their career where they're different powers or different things. Some guys don't start right away. They come off the bench and then they grow into becoming a starter. You can look at Norman Powell and look at his career arc and the different things that he did in his different places in his career, whether it was here in Toronto as a bench mob, Portland as a six man, and then now he's a starter for the Clippers. There's an evolution for every player in the league, and Scotty will have an evolution. There could be a period of time in his career where he does seem like he's more like the number one, and he's doing a lot of posting up and just dominating people down near the basket. Some of it will have to be predicated and depend on Darko's wants for what he wants to use him for. And that may be part of why you're not seeing exactly what you want to see from Scott, is because Darko is directing him to be this way, and Scotty loves it. Scotty doesn't care. Scotty's a team guy. He's going to listen to his coach. He just wants to win. That's, once again, the only thing Scotty cares about. He doesn't care about how much he scores or anything like that. He just wants to win, and he trusts Darko to guide him to that. And it could very well be some of this is decided because the coach is like, well, we don't need to give Scott the ball all the time. He's a plus. He's going to do all this stuff as a glue guy no matter what. And we can feed the ball to RJ and Brandon willy-nilly, because Scott is not a mouth that needs to be fed. In some ways, Scotty could get a lot of his points just off offensive rebound putbacks, stuff like that. Nako's saying Scotty looked like a good scorer last year next to Siakam. I think he'll look like a true two with Brandon. Yeah, I don't know if that's for sure, though. In some ways, I think that we're kind of obsessing about a label and things like that. Like, once again, I would say let Scott just be Scott, because Scott is going to be great no matter what. Trust me. And we all know that, as Masai says, development is not linear. There's going to be ups and downs. But I really do feel like Scotty has been trending up, even if it seems like from the outside he is not doing as well right now. I'm telling you, it's different stuff. It's leadership. It's communication on the court. It's holding the whole team accountable. He's doing a whole lot of other stuff that's not necessarily offensive related. And once again, he's taking the toughest assignment on the other team as a defensive assignment. And that's going to take some of it away too. Yeah. Let's see. Blackhawks here. Good to see Neil. The refs didn't call the fouls against the Raptors to shut down play-in hopes. That could very well be, just to make sure that the Raptors don't somehow finagle away into the play-in and leapfrog over Chicago. Well, kill it right there. Let Chicago beat them. I also think that part of it is on the down low. Billy Donovan's a very close friend of Darko Rajakovic. They worked together in Oklahoma City. And you saw how they talked to each other after the game. It's not that these guys have agreements or anything like that, but sometimes coaches, especially at the end of this year with all the tanking teams, sometimes they're kind of like, we don't mind if you get this one because, it's definitely Nick's doing that right now. Like the last time we played Philly and we swept them, the energy around Nick Nurse and Darko the last two times we played was like very like Nick's just, hey, buddy, hey, friend. He's not like competing like he normally does, like being an asshole and just walking off the court when the game's over. So it's like that's kind of a symbol of that. Like if anybody, Darko wants to lose to anybody in this league, Billy Donovan's a guy he doesn't mind losing to because he loves him. He's his friend. And in some ways, Darko, because Billy in some ways seemed like he was trying to help Darko in his first year. When we played the Bulls, there were a couple of games where it seemed like, the Raptors did better and we actually beat them. I feel like when you have a friend that's in the coaching ranks, you're rooting for them on the down low too, also, because you know how hard that profession is. And in some ways, Darko may, in some ways, is like, well, if we tank tonight to the Bulls, who are still trying hard, we actually helped my friend Billy Donovan get his team into the play-in. I know that doesn't sound like, oh, you want a competitive coach and all this kind of stuff, but if the season's dead and done already, and it's somebody you really like Billy, don't underestimate the fact that, like, yeah, my rotations may be a certain way because in some ways, yeah, we're not trying to beat the Bulls tonight. And we know there's been games this past month, where we have not been trying to win games. You know that. And we won some of them by accident. Smooth saying, I mean, if Gasol and Pascal were even half the players they could have been against the Celtics in the bubble, they would have won the chip that year too. The drop off was remarkable. Those two specifically. Yeah, I don't even think about Mark in that sense, but you're right. Gasol was a disappointment in the bubble playoffs. Siakam, that's gone over ad nauseum. And in some ways, I feel bad for Siakam on that. And let's not bring up that for Siakam on his birthday. But yeah, I forget that Mark had a drop off and he wasn't playing as well in those playoffs also. It's tough, man. That series was so close with Boston. And we could have had some luck and gone our way. Well, we might have won the championship again. You're right. We might have. That really was the big thing, was the Boston. So close, so close. It was a really good series. That was one of the best series in playoff history, honestly. Boston, Toronto, the only time it's ever happened. The Celtics versus the Raptors in the playoffs. Trevor saying, yeah, he's brought up the Jokic 61 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, triple-double, overtime loss to Minnesota. That is crazy. There's a stat that Keeks put up from TSN that every time Jokic scores 50 points, they lose. So that's the thing. Sometimes these big accomplishments where players score a lot of points, that's not a good thing because the rest of the team sucks. They're not carrying their weight, and that dude's having to do all the work. And that's kind of what happened with the Nuggets last night. That man had to score 61 of almost half of their points. That's crazy. And often teams that have scores that score like 50 or something, they have to dominate like that, they usually lose because the rest of the team's not good enough and the other team has a better team effort, even though a guy just got a 60-point triple-double. It's crazy. Every single time Jokic just scored 50, they've lost in the playoffs and the regular season. Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. Nako's saying Gasol was a little clumsier than I would have liked that year. Good, but clumsy. Well, he's older. That was near the end of his career. And in some ways, he was always kind of clumsy and a little bit slow. That's just his size and who he is. Nako's saying IQ's shooting was fantastic. Yeah, I really did like what he was doing last night. He was really smooth and he was in the flow. And I want to see more of this next year. I want to see IQ play at a very high level and just have offense come to him very easily. And I like the way he was shooting the three with confidence last night, especially in the first quarter. That was really, really good. Most saying the number one priority for Scotty this summer would be to improve his ball handling, would help with the shot creation, maneuvering through traffic, creating separation, etc. He probably will work on this, but I don't know if that's the first thing. The first thing that's most important still is the 3-point shooting. He has got to get even better at it and practice threes like crazy this year in the offseason. But yeah, he could probably tighten his handle up a little bit. There's some sloppiness that he does. One thing that he's been doing lately, he's not recognizing when the double's coming behind him. And he's getting people are sneaking up behind him and getting the ball from him. He'll be dealing with the defender that's guarding him, and then somebody will come up behind him and steal the ball from behind him. So, there's a lot of different stuff that Scott's still got to kind of get together and get figured out. But yeah, he'll have a good offseason, and every offseason he's come back better. That's the thing. He's not taking off seasons off. He's definitely putting in work to be a better player every year. We know that. Maybe he didn't the first year because he was on Twitch too much. But he's since then, he heard the bullshit and he's like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Be on here playing video games every single day all summer because people thought I was not practicing enough. I miss Scotty Barnes' Swish family. I'm just saying. Most saying think it's what really helped Siakam take another step as a scorer. Yeah, I mean, every player could always improve their footwork and their ball handling and their ability to have control of the ball. That's not something that ever stops. Like even guys that are like IQ that are really, really good with all that, they continuously try to work on this for sure. I think that is an area that is important for him. I think you're right. This because Scotty can make turnovers, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Let's see. Most saying her stars of the game are IQ, AJ, Jacoby. Bonus if I had to choose Orlando Robinson. Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to give some shine to Jared. Jared got in there at the end and he lit it up at the end of the game there. Once again, these guys, these J Rooks and Orlando Robinson getting to play against the best players on the Bulls, that's huge, huge experience. And they didn't pull their starters until like really late in the game. Josh Giddey was out there with like 5 minutes to go still in the game. And then they finally put in their bench. And that's the only time they really played the bench guys was at the very end of the game. And we were playing bench guys every quarter, the whole game. So that's another factor in the whole thing. Smooth saying, I still think Scotty is better as a third guy. Both RJ and BI are gifted scoring threats. It comes naturally to them. I think that this is naturally what's going to happen. I think you're right. I don't know if it's better. It's like putting a word like better in it. I think it's a natural thing that's going to happen. But the thing is, there's the option later that if Scott does develop his offense and he does get more aggressive and comfortable, he might become like one or two as far as the scorer for us. So I like him better as a utility role and a glue guy. I don't really care. I mean, I see that he can score so well, and that's part of the thing that's bugging us. It's like, man, I wish he would just go all out because I think he would like be really amazing, but we feel like he's holding back. I know how you feel. You feel like he's holding back a little bit. That he could be going all out, like with post ups and stuff in the lane way more. But I feel like we've seen signs of that at certain times where he has been more aggressive in going after that. Trevor's saying, did you guys see all the empty space of Chicago's championship banners that got destroyed? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were at Chicago last night, and you saw where the banners got disturbed by Disturbed. And they will be here in 5 days at our arena. And I'm hoping the Raptors will take our banner, our championship banner, down and not have it anywhere near there. And as Blake was saying to me last Saturday when we were at the 905 chat on Saturday afternoon evening, he's like, yeah, in the stage and where the pyrotechnics go off is right underneath where our championship banner is. So MLSE, Raptors, don't mess around. Don't let it get disturbed by Disturbed. And that big void in the championship banners at Chicago's United Center, you saw the 6 banners that Michael Jordan helped win for the Bulls are not there right now because of Disturbed. And we got to make sure. Yeah. Trevor, you put that Pascal interview in the chat. Okay, good. Yeah, the one with the 3 men and the fish. Yeah, that talking about how he didn't realize how good he had it in Toronto. Yeah, Siakam's awesome, man. He's awesome. He's really, really good. Most saying to do list this offseason getting healthy. Can IQ play a full season for me, please? That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, we want, IQ said at the beginning of the season after he got hurt, he said he's never been hurt so much. This is the most he's been hurt this year in his whole entire professional career, whatever level. So this has been the most injury year that Emmanuel Quickly has ever had. So we shouldn't expect this. This is not the norm. He's very durable most of the time. And he's got actually more strength and fitness on him this year. At the beginning of the year, like I said, he was skinnier and smaller. He's got more muscle on him at this point right now. So I wish this for him also, Mo, that next season, Emmanuel can have a very healthy season where he misses very few games. That'd be great. And Darko rotation fixing a must. Chris Boucher thoughts, etc. Chris is posting stuff, very interesting stuff on Instagram. In fact, we'll go look at it real quick. Kelly Olynyk is walking to the airport with his Balenciaga t-shirt on. So he's like Scotty. He's repping that brand, and he got a spread for some sushi last night. Holy crap, Kelly Olynyk. You love some sushi. That's not food for just 2 people. That's got to be food for like 8 people right there. That's too much sushi, bro. Like if I tried to attack all that, Kelly, you're trying to mess with me, and he's got clams too, clams and pasta. Man, look at this man. Kelly is like a foodie. He's a foodie for sure. Foodie. Kyle Lowry walking on the street, on his Instagram. That's interesting. Garrett Temple is putting on blast Brandon Bass. I'm not sure exactly what it's about. It's a documentary, I think, about Brandon Bass, former NBA player. He may have been a teammate of his at some point. Let's see. Jared Roden on the walkway coming into the game. Fortune J, good to see him in the game last night. Good job. Jay Nathan with one of his highlights from the game. This was a drop off to from battle to him, and he dunked it with the guy in his face. Really, really good job being aggressive, going through contact, and making the dunk. The Toronto Tempo has a really weird competition or thing going on. They want a temp for the Toronto Tempo. And they had old, much music VJ Rick Campanella do some goofy stuff, acting like he was the Toronto Tempo temp yesterday, which was pretty funny. It was actually pretty entertaining. But yeah, there's a job, y'all. If you want to be a temp for the Toronto Tempo franchise, they are looking for a temp right now, which is kind of funny. They had a pretty funny way of doing it with Rob being there, and he was being real goofy. He's a pretty funny guy. He's an old school Toronto media personality, Rob Campanella. So yeah, there's Slim Duck. All right, this is what I'm talking about. Slim Duck, he's got a clip or a thing posted. It's like, do you guys want me to wait around, or do you want me to clock out now? Can I go home? And I'm reading that as like, dude, he would like to play. Obviously, everybody would like to play. They don't want to waste their life. And in some ways, he's kind of like, well, if you guys aren't going to play me for the rest of the year, can I just go ahead and stay home at this point? Seriously, is probably what he's wondering right now. Now, one of the things I'm really worried, the reason why this is happening is because Chris is threatening certain things on our franchise lists. Like he's up there. He's been a Raptor for so long that if he accumulates certain stats, he's going to start passing certain people in certain categories. And I don't know if I wouldn't think the team cares about that, but there may be something like that that is part of the reason why he's not playing as much right now, or at all. He's not playing at all. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on with Chris. And this has happened 2 years in a row. This happened last year, exactly like this. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Chris. Chris doesn't know either. And in some ways, it seems like he's like, you know what? Can I just go home? Can I clock out? Is what he's saying right now. That's kind of his energy. It's like, y'all need me, or can I clock out? Is what he's saying. Yeah. And then, he says one thing with the old lady saying, when you're 97% healed, but someone hits the 3% that is not. See, he's in a good place. He's very comfortable. He's very happy overall. But there may be a little part of him that gets agitated. Maybe social media and people coming at him and say, why aren't you playing? Or saying something like that. Maybe he's at peace with it, but there's a lot of people that aren't. And when they say certain things, he starts thinking, it's like, oh man, I was peace with it, but now I'm not because you said all this shit. I think he's at peace with it, but it's really crazy. Now he's doing a salute at the end. I'm really worried about what his future is with our team. I love you, Chris. You're going to be a Raptors legend no matter what, forever. And I just want things to be on good terms for all time. And in some ways, if the Raptors are mistreating you on the down low in the wrong way right now, I'm not happy with them. I'm more mad at them than I am with you because I know you didn't do anything wrong. I know that you didn't. So there you go. Let's see. Matt Devlin and Jack Armstrong are on Tip Talk. And they say they got the band back together. And they're doing like a Macarena or some shit. And then it cuts to Kayla, and she's got a guest with her doing the same dance that Matt and Jack did very poorly, to be honest. And then Kayla and RJ showed how to do it. RJ Barrett showing up in the TSN broadcast crew's TikTok last night before the game. RJ does a good job doing it with Kayla in that. But yeah, Matt and Jack are posting it all over their Instagram. These guys are kind of hip because they're TikTok stars, I guess, because of Kayla Gray, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we back and RJ's with them. There you go. So goofy, man. So goofy. I don't know who that guy is in the picture with them. Let's see. Toronto Tempo. There's Rick talking about being a temp. You could be a temp for them. Apply here. And there's Shamshay coming into the game at Bulls, dressed up in the back. Norman Powell has a gear on blast. There's Pascal and three old man in the three talking about how special the Raptors championship and that era was. I love hearing that. And let's see, what else do we got? Is there anything else here that I care about? No, that's it. There's your Instagram stories. So Chris is kind of sending messages to the fans through his Instagram stories right now, and kind of telling people is like, I don't know what's going on. In some ways, he wants to go, he wants to leave, man. Let's see. Reggie saying Memphis looks like a mess right now. If they play the Lakers, they're probably out in 5. It's a real kind of like risk what they're doing as far as like switching their coach so late and trying to get it established right like this. It's kind of stupid that they did this, but it really shows that they're impatient. The other thing that I think is going to happen is, part of it is that Taylor Jenkins' system didn't fit John Morant. John Morant is a difficult player in some ways because he's not a good pick and roll player, and he needs his offense to be a certain way. And in some ways, what the Grizzlies were trying to build, John Morant doesn't fit. There's a lot of overtures that Jaw's not going to be a Grizzly after this summer, just so y'all know. So who knows what's going to happen? The Grizzlies are a team in flux, and they're changing more and more. And the mystery around the firing of Jenkins is getting more and more revealed. More than the mystery of why we fired Nick Nurse. In some ways, more details about that have not come out as compared to the Grizzlies at this point. It's crazy. Yeah, Nako's saying, Lex, where do you think Jokic ranks all time? Man, that's such a tough question. That's really a tough question. If he had more championships, it would be easier. In some ways, it really depends on what you want the criteria to be, Nako. Is it individual accolades? Is it as a player with the success with his team? Is it what? Is it stats? I would say, if you really want my honest opinion, the top 5 players that played in the NBA are not anywhere near this era. Not anywhere near this era. I don't include LeBron as one of the top 5 all-time players in the history of the NBA. I really don't. I include people like Magic and Bill Russell as 2 of them, and I would say Michael, of course, and I'm gonna downgrade Jokic and probably not give him his due because I'm an old head, and I think that some of the newer players in some ways. I don't know. It's tough, man. I have not thought about this too much. And it's like Jokic in particular is a tough one to gauge because he has so many MVPs. He has such a weird game and the way he's been. It's just tough, man. I can't gauge him. I would say he's maybe in the top 20 for sure, but I don't even know if he's top 10. How about that? Is that crazy? Some people would be like, you're crazy, Lex. Nikola Jokic is one of the top 10 greatest NBA players ever. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I don't know why. I can't say that for sure. Maybe it's just because I'm an old head. Trevor's saying 100 days until Summer League in Vegas. All right, at least we got some basketball games, but yeah, all right. That'll kind of get us through. We'll patchwork this shit. There'll be enough Raptors stuff going on to a degree. Yeah. Smooth saying Scotty is a gray area guy. I understand that. All I'm saying is that with his skill set, it has to be paired with guys who can score. That's where his value shines. That's all. I can agree with this completely. Yeah, and that's why RJ being next to him is important. Anybody who said that RJ shouldn't be playing with Scott, well, Scotty kind of needs RJ. And in some ways, Scotty makes RJ way better too. So, no, I'll totally agree with you on this statement here, Reggie. I think that in some ways, I think your criticism's interesting, and it's not that it's not valid. It's totally valid because in some ways, some people are wondering what the hell's going on with Scott, but I don't feel like anybody should be worried about this at all. Nako's saying Scotty's handle could be better relative to what he's shown in the NBA. This is his best year. Yeah, I think he's just grown and he's a different kind of he moves different. Like he has different energy. In some ways, he's built more respect. In some ways, he's emerged as one of the top defenders in the league out of the shadow of OG Anunoby in the last year. And that's the stuff I'm seeing with the progress. A lot of it's communication, a lot of it's intensity, some of it's being a leader and going off on all the rest of his teammates as far as this is the intensity we're going to do with defense, clapping, and all up on people 94 feet, and then Jacoby and Jared Roden and AJ Lawson are doing it too. That's the stuff I'm looking at. I'm not just looking at what everybody else is looking at. I'm looking at leadership. I'm looking at energy. I'm looking at aggression. I'm looking at his footwork in the post and the way he turns around and shoots turnaround shots over taller defenders right now. I'm looking at how he's been attacking the rim more often recently, like Giannis would, and going right at the rim and throwing it down. There's a lot of improvement there. If you really, really look at it closely, you can see it. You can see it. Let's see. G saying, I agree with Smooth. Scotty's skill set does better with scorers around him. It's not an insult, just like others benefit from his passing and defense. Yeah. Yeah. They're puzzle pieces, and not all the puzzle pieces would be the same. Old school, some people might think you just build a team with the best, absolutely best offensive talented scorers and stuff like no, the old NBA had role players. And there were guys that were just rebounders. There were guys that just were tall guys that were supposed to protect the paint. There were guys who were assist guys and they didn't really score, but they gave the ball out to other people. And in some ways, Scott is like a new age, all around great player, role player, but he's not a role player because he can be a franchise player. It's just, it's tough to gauge him. And he's not a normal player in this league. He's not a normal franchise player. And that is great for the Raptors. That's not a bad thing. That is a really, really good thing. Really, really good thing. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam, and happy Wednesday. Back to the office. Only checking in to say hi. And despite the elimination, we'll be back next season. Kudos to Scotty for donating. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, we knew we were going to be not getting to the playoffs totally. Play in for what? Well, play in for not. It's not happening. It's not happening. I mean, I'm not that upset about it. In some ways, it's annoying. It's like you hear the Raptors have been eliminated from the playoffs. And as Raptor freaks, we get upset. And in some ways, that's just natural. That's just a natural thing. I'm sure that Monique at a certain point last night, because I didn't see her in the chat anymore, she's like, I'm done with this game for the night because the score just got out of hand. And I mean, I get that. I get that. It's tough. I don't like seeing the team lose like this, especially in a game where we were hoping we get a 5-game win streak, because that's what I wanted last night. I wanted to see the Raptors beat the Bulls last night and get stop the sweep of them sweeping us this season 4-0. And also get a 5-game win streak, because if we'd won last night, we would have 5 in a row. Kaloy's here. Good to see Kaloy. Morning, Lex and fellow freaks. I regret going to Reddit and YouTube last night after the game last night. It was all fans being reactionary for his recent performances. All right, let's go look at Raptors Reddit, and maybe I'll do a little commenting on what they're saying here and see if they're out of pocket. So first of all, this first guy saying Raptors' mission to secure 7 best lottery odds, off to a good start. Yeah, Michael Grange is not helping things. He's on Twitter saying things like, if the Raptors don't get the 7th spot like they're in right now, it'll be a colossal fail if they manage to fall to 8th by the end of the season. So them losing to the Bulls was a good first step. Now, he's worried about the Spurs. The Spurs are dropping like dead weight in the standings. And in some ways, they're getting close to us. And we don't want to go above them because that would put us in 8th. And that'll decrease our lottery ball chances even worse. And some people are already mad that we went from 6th or 5th. We were in 5th to 7th. And now Philly's in 5th. And it is what it is. I mean, whatever. I mean, I feel like, once again, this is insidious schedule making. They gave us all our easy games at the end of the year that put us in this weird position. This person's upset about being officially eliminated on Reddit. This guy's got Raptors fans when Raptors finally get a loss, but it was embarrassing. Yeah, that's not fun, man. Why would you put that up? You're not even a Raptors fan then. Seriously, Munir, why would you say Raptors fans? You are a Raptors fan. Pascal opens up about truly appreciating his Raptors years. Yeah, we talked about that. I don't know where you look for all the bad stuff on Reddit, Kaloy. In some ways, I don't want to go look for it. I'm looking at Raptors Reddit specific, and it seems like, okay, here's a post about it. right here. This guy's saying MVP candidates and when they made the superstar jump. There's been a lot of talk about Scotty lately, especially due to the fact that he's underperformed with G League caliber players in game 76 of a season that's been over since game one. What the fuck kind of attitude is this? This guy's a negative mindset. Whether that's warranted or not is another discussion. However, I feel the need to point out development is not linear. I said that earlier, which I thought we all learned in his second year, and he still has lots of time to reach his ceiling. And for the record, I'm not saying Scotty is going to reach these players' level. My entire point is that it's far too early to throw in the towel on his development. Is anybody saying that we need to give up on Scotty and trade him? You're idiots. I'm going to say that right now. I'm going to say that right now. So they've got Scotty listed with SGA, Nikola, Giannis, Jason Tatum, LeBron, Donovan Mitchell, and he's comparing all of their stats and saying Scotty's in this class with these guys. So, and he's saying when their superstar leaps were SGA leaped in year 5, Nikola leaped in year 6, although year 4 was his first breakout. Giannis leap year was year 5 of his career. Jason Tatum had his leap in year 5, and LeBron even was in 5. So it's like his takeaways are, although some of these are possibly controversial, we rarely ever see players become outright superstars within their first 4 years. In fact, year 5 seems to be the year when players elevate to the top of the league. Were most of the guys better than Scotty in years 4? Yeah, for sure. However, the gap between him and most of these players isn't large enough to give up on him. Is he likely to reach this level? No, but again, it's far too early to write him off as a second or third option before he's finished his 4th season. So yeah, this guy actually, I like what he's saying here. He's saying people are overreacting, and people are saying we need to give up on Scotty. They're casuals. That's basically right. Everything's right there. I thought he started off a little weird, but I see that. Yeah. Okay, there was an April Fool's joke yesterday, not just the one about retiring number 4 for Chris Bosh, which is absolutely stupid April Fool's joke, but apparently there's an April Fool's joke on here saying that we're going to retire Chauncey Billups jersey. Number 3. Yeah, right. Why would we retire Chauncey Billups jersey? Come on now. Oh, there's a Kawhi Leonard card. That looks nice. Anyway, this is weird stuff, man. All right, Raptors Reddit, you're weird, man. At least there's somebody on there with voice of reason for Scotty Barnes on there. Yeah. It just seemed like there's a lot of discussion about Scotty after last night. I don't understand why. Y'all just let Scotty be Scotty. Come on now. That's right. Reggie's saying, don't forget about Grady. He's also a gifted scorer. It comes naturally to him. Yet another option for the Raps. Yeah. I mean, what did Vince say in the game the other night? He said this team's going to be scary with a 3-headed monster of Scotty, RJ, and Brandon. And you add in like shooters around him. That's what he's saying. You got those options where people are going to have to be getting ready for Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, and Scotty Barnes, all different kinds of threats. And then you surround them with shooters like Jacoby, Grady, Oshai, and Jamison Battle. And yeah, that's a good recipe for the future. Vince Carter thinks so. He's signing off on it on the broadcast, saying this is going to be a good team next year. This is going to be a scary team next year. Yeah. Kaloy's saying any critique right now is worthless as they are clearly tanking. We don't even know if Darko gave a game plan to Scotty to let others develop. Yeah. I mean, he may be doing exactly what Darko wants him to do right now. It's Scotty, don't try and take over. Just try and help the other guys. And like we said, Scotty's found himself a lot of time on the court with the young guys. He's the only one from the starters, and he's out there with his friend Jonathan and the rookies. And in some ways, that's been great development for them to learn to play with him and vice versa. And I mean, this is so true. Everybody wants to gauge things on, why don't you just gauge everything on Summer League? Why don't you just gauge everything on preseason? Because that's kind of where we are with the last part of the season. These games count, and they do go into the record book in the NBA as games that count. But also at the same time, these games are not normal NBA games we're playing at the end of the season because a lot of our opponents have quit and given up on the season. And you shouldn't be gauging anything about the Raptors long term from what's going on right now. I think that's a very, very good point by Kaloy. Because seriously, what are you going to gauge from this? Seriously, you might as well gauge everything about them from preseason. And we know the rules about that. That's right. Let's see. Trevor's saying people don't see Scotty in the number one guy every night on the floor doing things that no one else is doing in the long run will add up to winning games. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's glue guy stuff. It's taking the toughest assignment. It's it's stuff that people don't naturally see on the court because they're not, maybe some of them are casuals. Maybe some of them don't really understand basketball because they never played basketball. And some of them are just making assumptions because they just watch it and they never actually ever played themselves or actually understand the mechanics or the actual really amazing things he's actually doing. If you watch basketball for a long time, you can kind of tell that Scotty's a badass player to play with on your team. It's like if you're going to a pickup game and Scotty's there and that kind of player is there, you probably want to pick him first, even if he's not the first scorer, because he's going to help you win, is what I'm saying. Stargate saying if that's what the Nuggets are dependent on to go far in the playoffs, they will get bounced in the first round. Playoff area is different animal altogether. Good morning, Stargate. Good to see you. Yeah, I agree. I think that the Nuggets, since their championship, have been downgraded every year. They've lost more and more talent, and they're lucky to have Jokic and Jamal. But overall, man, losing people like Bruce Brown, KCP, and different people over the years has hurt their team, and their team is not exactly the same. Yeah, I don't know if they'll have legs to get far in the playoffs. They're not one of the teams out west that I think will get far. I think that the Thunder will. Yeah, I think they will for sure. Kaloy saying, I do hate it that Scotty gives the hater ammunition with these games. Well, the haters don't matter. That's the problem. That's the thing. We got to realize the attention we give the haters, like you going there to look at what they're saying, it's not necessary. It's like a tree falls in the wood, you don't hear it. Well, did it really fall? That's what I'm saying. We can ignore these people. And once again, I only judge people by how they say things. They can say they're a Raptors fan, but I don't think they're a Raptors fan if they're so overly negative and they're trying to tear down Scotty Barnes. Bro, you're not a Raptors fan. If you're coming around this morning and you were talking, oh, Raptors, Scotty Barnes is, we need to get rid of him because he's not a good enough franchise player for our team. We're paying him too much. You're not a good Raptors fan because you are not paying attention correctly. You obviously don't know basketball. And second, this is not the action of a Raptors fan. This may be the action of a Leaf first Raptors fan second. This may be the action of a Canadian that just is like, I love the Raptors because I'm Canadian and this is the team for our country, but I'm just kind of sideline casual watching. It's just a casual take to say, oh, Scotty isn't a good enough player for us to invest as our franchise player right now. It's a very casual take. And I would judge the person more than the take and say, well, you're not a Raptors fan because you don't see it clearly enough. I say that. Yeah. Most saying, Lex, did you see SGA's dad, Vaughn, talk about the MVP race on a recent podcast? Yeah, I love this. This was cool. And it's funny because, the whole talk about Toronto accents from Rudy Gay and his weak ass accents. Well, they had SGA's father on this podcast, and they're saying that he has the most authentic Toronto man's accent. He does. He sounded totally like a Toronto man's in that thing, which was pretty cool. And of course, he's going to say that he thinks that his son should be MVP. Of course. And I think he gave a good argument, though, other than being biased as being his father, because he did give a good argument in that clip. So, yeah, it was really cool to see his dad in that little clip there, Vaughn. Yeah, Tristan saying happy birthday to Pascal. Lex, did you get your eyebrows done? No. I have scars on my eyebrows. Like I have a big scar that takes the edges off. It's kind of like it's like a cut that cut my face in half. And so my eyebrows are always weird. So no, I didn't get my eyebrows done. I would pluck my eyebrows myself, but I'm not hoity-toity guy. I don't get pedicures and manicures. I'm not manscaping, and I'm not a metrosexual kind of guy that's doing all kinds of weird body upkeep. So I don't know. I wouldn't get my eyebrows done. I don't think I've ever done that. Now, I have plucked out my eyebrows completely before. And you can even see that in some of the recent Kensington Variety VIP clubs for 5 years ago. They're coming out. I don't have any eyebrows in there because I think I was nervous at home during the pandemic and isolation. And I was actually just picking my eyebrows out. So you'll see that on those shows, but yeah, no, I didn't get them done or anything other than just they're on my head and they grew. That's funny, man. That's a weird question. I wasn't expecting that one. Kaloy saying IQ developing well, though. Yeah, I mean, they all are. RJ's had a career year. RJ's had his best year as a pro. Jakob's had his best year as a pro. Chris Boucher's had his best year as a pro. So it's like, what's not the leg? IQ had too many injuries for me to say that. But I expect next year to IQ to have his best year as a pro. I won't say Scotty had his best year as a pro yet because his best years are years to come. In some ways, Scotty has had his best year defensively as a pro this year. I'll say that he's had his best year defensively, but not offensively. And I'll agree with Reggie on that. Most saying great interview with Dylan Harper and Malika Andrews. Just happy for the family. Yeah, I'm not doing that in depth of a coverage on the draft. I didn't watch any of that Dylan Harper stuff. It is what it is. His brother was a two-way with us for a little while. In some ways, it's like, yeah, that's great, but I don't want Dylan Harper on the Raptors, so I'm not really focusing on him. I didn't watch that interview with Malika, but thanks for posting it for people that want to watch it. Kaloy saying, I think Scotty understands that once the bench mob and the others develop, the easier it will be for his career to flourish. Once again, Scotty's box for what he needs to do every time he comes on the court is not necessarily score baskets. What am I supposed to do to help the team, Darko? Well, you got to play very good defense on the best player on the other side. You got to get rebounds. If you could paint protect and block shots around the basket, if you can find your teammates and get them more involved so that they get going too. This is a list that he's got from Darko right now. I'm pretty sure. James is saying, I compare Scotty to Jason Kidd type of player. Not a scorer, but does everything else. Jason was a 10-time All-Star, but he never scored over 18 points per game. That's another good comparison for this. And in some ways, Jason Kidd was very much like Magic. So it's a kind of along the same tree of point guards. The thing is, though, I don't really look at Scott as a point guard at this point, but it's totally apropos, the comparison that James is making. In fact, I'm going to give James a dunk for this. Yeah, I think that that's a good comparison. Jason Kidd is a good comparison. And people can look at Jason Kidd and understand, well, Jamal Mashburn, Jim Jackson, Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson, these guys around them will do most of the scoring, but Jason Kidd is absolutely one of the more important players on the team. I still think that the best comparisons to Scotty are not Magic and Jason particularly, it's Tim Duncan and Bill Russell. And it's partly because of the shot blocking he's doing now. It's really that. The rebounding, the shot blocking, and the paint protection that Scotty's into right now, that's Duncan and Russell, not necessarily Kidd and Johnson, which is interesting. But that is a fair comparison by James. You got to dunk. Happy birthday to Pascal. We love Pascal, man. In my opinion, he's one of the top 3 greatest Raptors of all time. And the other 2 are the guys that were his vets when he came in. That one guy got traded and one guy is the GOAT. Yeah, those are the top 3 Raptors of all time in my book. Pascal is a champion for the Raptors on 2 levels. And he's the most improved player. He's a lot of things. And he has a lot of success. He has more success with the Raptors than Vince Carter did. That's the damn for truth. That's the thing. I would say, you ask me, who's better are the Raptors? Who's the more important Raptor? Some people say, well, Vince is the more important Raptor, but who was the better Raptor? Who was the more successful Raptor? And that was Pascal Siakam. I would pick Pascal over Vince every single time because he's a champion. He's got a ring, and he's got a championship ring with the 905 also. So, yeah, that's just how it is with me. I'm sorry, Vince heads. I love Vince. I'm starting to give him more respect. In fact, he's I need to go and look at the Raptor GOAT rankings again and update them this summer and give Vince a little bit more credit for coming back from the dark side and being more with the Raptors on the Raptor side. So he may actually be up there again. He might be number 5 at this point for me. Yeah, Fred's 4th. I put Fred 4th. It's Kyle, DeMar. Well, DeMar's number 1 right now in my heart. DeMar, Kyle, Pascal, Fred, Vince. That's my top 5 Raptors of all time. And Kawhi's not on there. Come on, Kawhi's not. Wayne saying, morning, Raptor Freaks. Good to see Wayne's trainer here. Chris Boucher is valued by the front office. However, if his stats improve, that increases his value and possible compensation. Nothing personal, strictly business. This could be very exactly right. And you know what? This is dirty, honestly. Because, owners have always done shady ass shit to try and save costs, and often at the detriment of the player. And this might be exactly right, what Wayne's saying, that they're trying not to bring his value up so that they can sign him cheaper in the offseason. He may be exactly right here. Good to see you, Wayne. Trevor's saying, they're saying we have the best dressed player in the league. Who's the best dressed player in the league? You didn't even tell me which one. I think that they're saying we have the best dressed players, like plural. I think you're missing a letter there, Trevor. If you're going to say one player is the best dressed player in the league, well, tell me which one. Don't leave me hanging. You mean the Post, when they came in last night with the fits, they said the best dressed team, the whole bunch of them. Is well, Garrett Temple's probably the best chess player. Let's just put it that way. Nako's saying top 20 seems fair. A lot to consider when making such a list. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because in some ways, some stuff doesn't translate. I mean, Jokic is a phenom, and in some ways, I'm not giving him his just due. But partly that's because I feel like he's won so much stuff already. It's just tough, man. Like if you ask me if Nikola Jokic is better than Larry Bird, that's a tough question to me. Some people will say, "What are you talking about? Larry Bird was a plumber from French Lick, Indiana." I'm like, "No, he wasn't. If you actually knew who Larry Bird was when he was playing and how he did things and what he was doing, and that's the thing. Larry won way more than Nicola's won so far, and in some ways, he has the MVPs that are similar to Nikola. He may not have the stat accumulations, but that's the thing. Even when you go to something like that, like who's better, Nikola Jokic or Larry Bird? That's not a slam dunk saying, "Oh, Nikola Jokic is better." A lot of people will say Larry Bird's better than Nikola Jokic for the whole thing. Yeah. Wayne saying, Lexicon, you really seem interested in the Grizzlies business. Very unlike you to care about non-Raptor team. Possible the Darko connection, I guess. So I don't. So don't care. That's why. It's really partly because of Darko. The other thing is, in some ways, the Grizzlies franchise does matter to me a little bit more than the other franchises because it's the team that came in with us 30 years ago. So I gauge a lot with them on us. So in some ways, that was Vancouver Grizzlies. They came in with us in 95. And their journey as a franchise matters to me partly because that's the Naismith Cup. That's the former other Canadian team. So that's a little bit of part of it, but also because the news was very shocking. And I really, as soon as I heard that they fired their coach, I was like, inquiring minds want to know. I was all about it, like trying to find out what the hell happened because it really just came blindsided. But also the Darko connection is part of it too. And I will say this, and I asked Blake this on Saturday when he was in the 905 chat with us. I said, Blake, do you think that part of the reason why things went south in Memphis in the last couple of years is because we hired Darko away from them? And that Darko had the vibes with Dylan Brooks and the way they were dancing, and everybody was happy, and everybody is copacetic and just getting along, and they were on their way. And then Darko came and got hired by us. Did that all go out the window in the last 2 years? Then they got to this point where they were firing Taylor Jenkins. See, that's part of the reason why I'm investigating this, because I'm going to use this situation to talk up our coach and say he's a badass, and they lost and missed him in Memphis. And that's part of the reason why a lot of the negative stuff that happened with them came about in the last year. So that's part of it right there, Wayne. And my explanation for why I may pay attention to them a little bit more is because they're our brother franchise that we came in with, and that is something that matters. They're having their 30th anniversary year this year, just like us, and it's stuff like that. And also, in some ways, if I have Canadian fans that are watching me like Tom Duke out there in the West Coast that were former Grizzly fans, in some ways, they have a connection to that franchise. Stargate saying Jokic has to win at very least one more championship in order for him to be even mentioned in any type of all-time player conversation. So come on, man, chill with the recency bias. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I agree with this. The recency bias is tough. It's the thing that elevates people like Dame Lillard and James Harden into the top 50 of all time when they shouldn't be in there. I'm serious. They should not be in there. And Anthony Davis should not be in there either. He should not. Seriously, these guys are not better than guys that were like them in the past. Seriously, it's crazy. Some of the people who were in the top 75 or whatever they did, they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be there. And there were guys that were overlooked that should have been in there. Like I would have put before James Harden and Dame Lillard into the top 75 all-time NBA players, Alex English and Vince Carter. Those two guys should have been in there more than those other two guys. Seriously. Like Vince Carter wasn't in the top 75 players of all time. And I get it. He wasn't like totally good the whole thing, but he had an impact. And he, in some ways, Vince is more about not the stats. It's about who he was, his longevity, and the impact he had on the global game. That's what I would say. But James Harden, what the fuck? He's just a selfish guy who didn't play defense, who scored a lot of baskets and had a weird beard. He shouldn't be in one of the top 75 players of all time. I'm sorry. He shouldn't. Recency bias there. That. Kaloy saying the fact that we are going to need BI, RJ, IQ, Scotty, and Yak firing on all cylinders next year, along with the bench for Raptors takeover next year. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be as tough as you think. I mean, it is going to be tough, but it's going to be like, I'm not worried about this. I feel like we've got enough diversity on our team with different weapons that depending on the matchup and depending on certain things, Darko's going to have different ideas about what we're going to do on certain nights. And, if he has options, if he has Brandon, he has RJ, he has Grady, he has Jacoby, he has Scotty, it's going to be very interesting to see how they go about things. I really do feel like we're going to be very good next year. And I hope that we get a fair shake from the NBA with a better schedule this year. I really, really do. But in some ways, we're more better prepared to deal with if they're going to throw all the really tough games at us right at the beginning of the season. Well, we've been building, and we're in a good place right now to take care of it better than we did last season at the beginning of this year. So we're building, and that's the most important thing. Fiercely saying, looking at the box score from yesterday, both Scotty and Jakob were -6, and Yak only had 12 points, which was also unusual. Everyone has bad nights. Let's not panic. Yeah, Yak wasn't even that he had a bad night. He's just low usage last night. And it's just, that's how it is. Scott, low usage. Jakob, low usage. They played 24 minutes. These guys average like 35 to 40 minutes a game when they're normally playing. So you just shave like, 10, 15 minutes off their normal play time when you only play them 24 minutes. So you can't really gauge stats for Scott or Yak right now. They were efficient. I mean, Scotty wasn't as much as Yak. Yak was efficient, but Scotty wasn't totally. He wasn't totally. Let's see. Trevor saying, why are you also worried about where Raptors pick? Bobby and Masai never fail to get the right pieces. Don't matter where they pick. Yeah, I agree with this, but it's really because kind of like what Kaloy's saying with the noise. There's a lot of people that are trying to make a negative spin that if the Raptors screw up with the lottery, which is something we can't control at all, as far as like if the lottery ping pong balls don't go our way and all of a sudden we're picking like 9th or 10th, just imagine the stupid shit that the negative Raptor fans are going to say. And imagine the dumbass shit that Michael Grange is going to say. That's more why I worry about it more. Is just like, and maybe I should take my advice that I had for Carlo JS. It's like, well, let's just not pay attention to them. Let's just ignore them. The people are going to have those opinions, and we can see the other thing is like, well, look, we are going to the lottery balls determine we're going to pick this place. Well, at least we have skill on our side. If we don't have luck, that's what I would say. At least we have skill on our side. Trevor wants that classic card. It's coming. It's coming very soon. Mo's got my cutoff. I love it. W Stream, go Raptors for life. Keep at it always, Lex. Raptor Freak Crew strong forever. Just helping Lex limit comments. We're going to keep our heads together despite the season as true fans here. That's right. That's right. And we're going to enjoy the rest of the season too. We're going to very much savor these games before we go on break. We need to. So let's really enjoy the games and watch them still. Jail saying, I don't think Jokic eclipses Curry or LeBron, but I also think they've gotten better team. They've got better teams so far. Yeah, well, the Warriors they were just absolutely stacked. It's a weird thing. Like, if you can compare those three players, obviously people are going to try and say LeBron's the best out of those three, but I can make an argument that the other two guys are better than LeBron to an extent. I really could. The other thing is I could make an argument that Curry's the best of those three because he has the most championships. And, look, this man's like 37 or something, and he just scored 50 points last night. That's pretty phenomenal. That's pretty phenomenal. I don't know. I can be biased. I can pick any of them. We could get stat head and say, oh, but statistically, LeBron is just the best because of longevity and all this and all this. I mean, it's a lot of it's just a matter of opinion. A lot of it's just a matter of opinion, especially with those three guys, because those three guys are now and they have different feels to them and they have different excellence in different ways. Steph Curry obviously changed the game. LeBron obviously changed the game. And in some ways, Nicholas changed the game also. So they're all game changers. That's for sure. They are for sure. Most saying, I can't rave about IQ and Yak enough. Wow, wow, wow. I love it. Yeah, I love how IQ played last night. I really did. I love that you loved it, Mo. I love that you loved it. James is saying, fun fact, Jason Kidd also won Rookie of the Year. That's true. He shared it, though. He won it with Grant Hill. They both won it the same year. And they had to share it. That was a dual Rookie of the Year. And we thought that might happen to Scott. Remember when he was it was very close between him and Mobley. And so I was not going to be totally upset if they had done a co-rookie of the year with Evan Mobley. I'm glad that Scott got it straight up, though. I'm glad he got it straight up. But yeah, that was a rookie of the year when Jason Kidd won it. He won it with Grant Hill. Grant Hill won it also, which is kind of weird. Randolph's here. Good to see Randolph Phillips. Blessings, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. Life is battle. We never should fight alone. When it seems hard, leave it to God. There you go. I love that. I want to just do a little aside and thank Senator Cory Booker of the United States for filibustering for 25 hours straight with no bathroom breaks, nothing to help the people with Medicaid in the United States. You are a hero, man. And that is the kind of stuff that I like to see. And also the results from Wisconsin and the Supreme Court election yesterday, where Elon was trying to buy that election. Well, Wisconsin said we will not be bought. And the other person won that Elon didn't want. So good victories yesterday for the right side of justice with Wisconsin. Now, Florida didn't come through. Florida's a fuckface, stupid ass state. It's a kind of a MAGA stronghold at this point. My old former state that I used to live in, the bullshit. But yeah, Cory Booker is amazing. He broke Strom Thurmond's record for the longest filibuster in the history of the United States government. He spoke for over 25 hours, and he didn't do it like Strom Thurmond did. Strom Thurmond read the encyclopedia. He didn't even talk about the subject that he was supposed to talk about. And you know why Strom Thurmond did it, right? He was trying to filibuster the Civil Rights Act and equality for black people in the United States. That's the reason why that evil old ass racist KKK motherfucker did his shit. Well, Cory Booker got up there and did it to save people's lives, to save Medicaid. And man, you're a hero, bro. And the crazy thing is, that whole 25 hours, he didn't stay off subject. He stayed on the subject of how Trump is destroying the United States, and he systematically went over it for 25 hours. He talked about everything that Trump's doing and put it all on the public record for 25 hours. He had enough material to talk for 25 hours on that. So kudos to you, Cory Booker. I'm going to give him a dunk, y'all. This is a little bit of a different kind of dunk because this is one I want to give him, and it doesn't really have to do with the Raptors at all. But Cory Booker, you're a hero, and I appreciate what you did to help the American people by not taking a bathroom break for 25 hours. That is a hero. That is a really, really badass hero, man. It's so good. So good. Anyway, I wanted to do that little aside there just for a second. Let's see. But yeah, blessings to the Phillips family and all the Raptor Freak families out there. Always good to see Randolph. Gerald saying number 1, Kyle, number 2, Pascal, number 3, DeMar, number 4, Scotty, number 5, Boucher, and number 6, Kawhi. That's a weird list, man. That's a weird list. I don't mind it totally, though. But I feel like you're missing someone. You don't like Fred. Yeah, you don't like Fred. And that's no good. And you're underrating DeMar. Now, I got to say, I know Gerald's fandom when he came on the Raptors brigade, and he did not see DeMar properly for the Raptors. So in some ways, that's the thing. Gerald, you had to be there when DeMar was the franchise player and what he was doing for us from 2010 to up until he got traded. You have to see what he did. He was just amazing. And in some ways, like I said, he was true blue for this city right here. And he never wanted to leave us. And he's still like that, even though we hurt him. So it's just a real one, man. It's a real one. Stargate saying Alex English totally got snubbed from the top 75 list. Big time. Disrespect. It's recency bias. And it's the fact that he isn't a huge name in the whole post time. You know, people like Magic and Larry will never be forgotten. But Alex English, he's been forgotten to a degree, and that's too bad. That's too bad. Reggie's saying that Val Kilmer passed away last night. That sucks, man. When I saw that news last night, I was sad. I was sad. I mean, this is going to happen. People get old, people pass away, and when you start seeing people that are kind of from things that you like when you're a kid, it's sad. You know, Top Secret, Batman, Willow. Heat was a great movie that Val Kilmer was in. That's one of my favorite movies, honestly. That's a great movie. That's got Pacino and De Niro in it, and Val Kilmer's in it also. That's a really good movie, Heat. That's a good one. Top Gun. Yeah, I forget that he's in that one. He's the Iceman, right? He's Iceman. And then he played Jim Morrison in Oliver Stone's The Doors. The interesting thing about Val Kilmer, when he played Jim Morrison, he sang the songs himself, and he sounded like Jim Morrison. It was pretty incredible. I know that this would be untrue. I know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Yeah, he was good, man. He could actually sing it. Like, there's a couple actors who have played biopic movies, like Jim Morrison in the Doors movie, like Val Kilmer, that actually sing the songs, and they do really good. And one of them was Joaquin Phoenix when he did Walk the Line with Johnny Cash. He sang the songs for real. And even that goofy movie where they just did with Lady Gaga, with Bradley Cooper, who's best friends with Alvin Williams from college. I think they were like college roommates or something. Bradley Cooper is like best friends with Alvin Williams. I don't know if y'all know that. He's brought it up on the broadcast recently. But yeah, Bradley Cooper and A-Dub are tight, really, really tight, But he sang his own songs with Lady Gaga in that one movie they did where they were like singing and stuff like that. But Val Kilmer, man, this hit hard, man. We don't forget when he played Doc Holliday in Tombstone. Wasn't that in Tombstone? He was really good in this. I'm your huckleberry bearer. I'm your hucklebearer. It's so good. Fantastic actor. Yeah, fantastic actor. Maybe difficult at times with his personality, but also at the same time, man, just an interesting dude, man. He did that movie The Saint. Remember, he did the film version of The Saint. There's a lot of good movies he's in. Top Secret, yeah. Fantastic actor. Yeah, yeah. You loved him in Heat. That's a great movie. That's, like I said, that's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, Reggie. Heat, I love that genre. I'm really like, I love The Departed. The Departed is one of the best movies ever made in my life. I really do believe that. I love Casino. I like Goodfellas. I like those mobster movies. One of my favorite ones that's underrated is Copland. Copland is so good. You guys should go watch Copland and you will get blown away. It's the best movie Sylvester Stallone ever made. His performance in Copland, forget about Rocky and that bullshit, because he's playing himself in Rocky. And he may have been nominated for Academy Award for Rocky. But dude, the best acting job that he ever did was in Copland. And that genre is just awesome. I love Heat. That's such a good movie. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Ashley Judd. That's right. Val Kilmer. Honestly, a top 5 movie all time. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would put it in my top 5. I would put it in my top 5 too. Yeah, Trevor's saying, who cares about what Grange thinks? He's not running the front office, so he can kiss where the sun don't shine. All right, Trevor. Because you put like a little frowny face that looks like a sun, you could get a dunk for this. I love what you just said, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. You can kiss where the sun don't shine. All right, you're 51 on the dunk sheet. That's so funny, man. That's so funny. Kaloy's saying, yeah, big win for Wisconsin. You're really, really proud of the people, because in some ways, this is the thing. The American people are in a fight to stop people from buying their government. And that was a clear victory right there. Go ahead, Elon. Give some people $1 million. You're still going to lose. I love that. I love that. I love that so much. Nako's saying, from what I know, Wisconsin is also a huge swing state. It really is. It really is. And in some ways, they have a really good governor. And they've had a good, different politicians. So they're very wise and smart on this. I mean, in some ways, it's also the proximity to us. A lot of places are getting fed up and pissed off. And this is the crazy thing. They're going to have a vote soon. And some of the Republicans are going to have to go against Trump because they understand the business is not good under his tariffs. And there's some of them may be able to stop him actually with his dumbass tariffs that he's trying to do. In fact, he has a big announcement today. He's saying some stupid ass shit. Yeah, Kaloy saying Cory Booker is legendary for that. Yeah, we got to remember, Cory Booker is the guy who came and talked to the Raptors like 2 years ago. Nick Nurse got Cory when they were in D.C. one time, and they did a little thing like Georges St. Pierre, where the Raptors all came into a room, in a classroom, and Cory Booker did a speech for them, an inspiring speech for the Raptors team. So Scotty actually sat in a room with Cory Booker and heard him speak to him in the past. That was with Nick, and that was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. Yeah, Wayne's saying James Harden and Portland do not belong in the top 75. NBA shot too early on that one. Yeah, I didn't like it at all. There's a couple of guys on that list that I just don't agree with, and I do not agree with Anthony Davis either. I don't think he should be on that list. He's been hurt too much, and what has he done? He's won 1 championship. There's other guys in the past that should have been on that list that weren't. that should have been in their place. This one thing. He's asking, isn't Cory Booker with Rosario Dawson? I think they were together at some point. I don't know if they're currently together, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they were dating at some point. I think I remember that. And Stargate saying Alex English was a scoring machine. Well, like I say, every time I bring up Alex English, former assistant coach of the Toronto Raptors, is that, and he was a huge mentor to DeMar DeRozan, we found out this past year, is that he is the man who scored the most points in the entire decade of the 1980s out of anyone. That whole entire decade of 1980s, Alex English scored the most points in the NBA. He was the highest, and that's why I'm like, why isn't this guy in the top 75? This dude scored the most points in an entire decade. Come on now. Come on now. Nako saying Pascal won most improved and was a pretty big part of the chip. Also, the amount of emotion Masai shows for Pascal means something. Yeah, Siakam, he's a winner and he has the accolades. And in some ways, he's one of the most decorated Raptors of all time. And in some ways, that's why we need to give him some credit. He's a two-time All-Star. He's most improved. I think he even got all NBA at some point. So it's like he's got the cred for the accolades. And he was the second most important player on our championship team. Kyle's important. Let's not get it twisted. The person who did the scoring record with Kawhi during that championship run, like Jordan Pippen did for the Bulls, was Leonard and Siakam. And that's he was the one who put up a lot of points next to Kawhi to get us there. Stargate saying my all-time favorite Val Kilmer movie was a movie called Thunderheart. I think I remember that movie. Isn't it like an Old West movie of some sort? I think so. Yeah. He was also Batman in Batman Returns. Yeah, I try to forget about that. Stargate saying Sly in Copland was amazing. Yeah, they did a really good job filming that movie too. There's that part where his ear is not working. And the way that they did the audio for that, and he's like walking, like he's all fucked up with a shotgun. And it's like, it's a crazy story. It's basically like he's a small town cop in a borough of New Jersey away from New York. And all these New York cops live in this borough. It's like, that's why they call it Copland. It's like none of the people that live in this town are ordinary citizens. They're all New York police officers. And he's like the cop for the cops in their little town, and they're all corrupt. And he's like trying to be like a legit real cop, and they don't take him seriously. They think he's like some sort of like podunk small town sheriff, and they're like the real ones because they're in the middle of it in the city. And it's such a crazy movie. Like he's such a badass in that movie. He really is such a badass in that movie. Monique is saying, I want Hoosiers to win for you want Houston to win for Shed. I dislike Cooper Flag, but I love RJ and BI. So those are the teams that are left. Duke is still in it, obviously still, and Brandon and RJ are rooting for them. But Shed's team's still alive. The Houston Cougars are still out there with Coach Sampson. That's awesome. I'm with you. I'm going to root for Houston too, because I'm sure they're probably an underdog at this point. Bryce is here. Good to see our guy from Kentucky checking in with us, man. Good to see you, Bryce. It's been a little bit. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Good to see you back in the studio. I fell for the April Fool's joke about Ingram coming back yesterday. I think a lot of people did. It's because we were so anxious to want to see him. I feel like everybody made an April Fool's joke for each of the 30 NBA teams, and that was ours. Was Brandon? There was the rumor that they were going to retire Chris Bosh's jersey, which was totally stupid and dumb. That one, but yeah, the one for Dallas was particularly cruel. That they said, "Oh, we fired Nico Harrison yesterday morning." And Dallas fans really wanted to believe that. They really, really did. They really did. Trevor's saying, I can't wait to see Columbia 2. The movie will be out this month. Okay, I'm not even sure. Columbia 2, what is that? I don't even know. Wayne's saying, it's depressing to see people so brainwashed into destroying their own country and then blame others for their self-inflicted actions. Viva la Canada. Yeah, it's sad. They lied to them. They were easily manipulated through fear. They use fear and they tell you, oh, these people are coming to take your jobs. These trans people want your kids to become trans. They scare them. They use scare tactics to keep them in control. And they say, oh, if you don't vote for us and you vote for the woke liberal mind virus that fucking idiots calling it and stuff like that, it's really fear. And anybody who's motivated by fear and what you do, you're losing already. I'm just going to say that. And well, these people got duped. They got lied to last year in the election. And now they're coming around losing their jobs. And they're really like, so, holy crap, why did I do this? I voted for a guy that literally put me out of my job. And it's crazy. It's so dumb. I voted for a guy that literally took my uncle and deported him back to Mexico. And shit like that is like right now. It's like, yeah, that's why we need to be smart up here because we're a little bit like a wave after a wave. And that's why we need to very, very much take this federal election in Canada this month very seriously because the mistakes that were made by the Americans last November, we cannot afford to make them up here right now. And it's very, very clear what people should do. Some people are confused because they're just blindly hating the liberals no matter what. They just hate them because they've been paid to be hating them. There's so much subterfuge and information that was put out there to tarnish the name Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party from the last couple of years. Sure, they're not perfect. They fucked up in a lot of ways, but it's much better than the alternative. Trust me. And the other thing is that, like, that's the thing. If you're making your basis on your judgments for voting on fear or those immigrants or those trans people, you're already fucked. Seriously. And people need to start understanding the thing that's most important in this election is staying strong with our country against the threats that are coming from the south of us. That's the only thing that matters. If anybody's going to bring up, well, Trudeau did this 4 years ago, or he did this, and he should be, charged. And if you're bringing up the past, let's get present, motherfucker, and let's think about the issues we're dealing with right now. And that, you can get all mad and punitive. I'm going to vote against the liberals just because they punished us for these last few years by telling us to stay home and get a vaccine. It's so stupid. That's the past. Get over it. Let's move forward. And let's try and protect our country together, both sides, PC and liberal, NDP, all of the parties. We can't afford to be split up. We got to find where our commonalities are, and that is being proud to be Canadian. And that is where we come together. And in some ways, look, Pierre Poilievre is not somebody who's going to protect us. He's going to go in the back room with Trump, cut a deal, and sell us out and make us the 51st state. You got to believe this. This is just the damn truth. That's what he will do. I don't have to be a fortune teller or an empath or a person that can see in the future like I am to see this happening this way. You really don't have to be an empath or somebody who can tell the future to understand this is what the outcome will be if the PC party wins this election coming up. That's why it's just so important. And no sidelining and no voting for Poilievre. No voting for him. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Stargate saying, man, I hope Houston destroys Duke, but I believe Duke and Auburn are destined to face each other. I really, really like that Auburn team. That's a basketball team that plays together. A lot of people are picking Auburn to win the Final Four and win the championship. There are people that picked them outright at the beginning of the tournament, so they're a favorite. And there's a lot of people that believe in them just like you. So we'll have to see the star power of Duke, the headiness and the tenacity of Houston, or Auburn. We'll have to see. I don't even know who the other team is in the four at all. Most saying, how many more seasons do you think Alvin Williams will do with us, Lex? What do you mean? You mean being a broadcaster? The man is young. He's only a year older than me. So he's like 50, right? He's 50 right now. Now, he could broadcast for another 30 years if he wanted to, if he could stay on there. So I'd say Alvin Williams is going to be broadcasting Raptors games for a long time, I hope, because he's doing a really good job. And you don't really age out of that too quickly. So I can see he's going to be around for at least 10, 20 years, maybe. If he's going to, some of these older players are still doing games like, Walt Frazier. Look at Walt Frazier. He's doing games for the Knicks still. And that man is in his 80s. So come on now. Yeah, they're going to be able to do this for a while. You don't age out of that for a while. Yeah. Florida's the other team, the Gators. Is Oliver Ryu playing? That'd be cool to see Oliver Ryu. That's going to be interesting. Trevor's saying, one of my friends works for 35 years with the government and lost his job. Now he's crying. I told him, why are you crying? You voted for Trump, you sucker. That your friend voted for Trump and now he lost his job after 35 years? Hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious. It's sad and depressing. But also at the same time, you get what you ordered, you motherfucker. Dumbasses. That's why you can't trust Shim Sham Man. You can't trust these carpetbagging snake oil salesmen, these robber barons. It's like fucking anybody who's a businessman first who wants to be in politics, don't fucking vote for them. Anybody who's a businessman first, Doug Ford or fucking Donald Trump, you don't vote for these guys because they're going to run the government like it's a business. Government's not supposed to be run like a business for profit. These motherfuckers want to run it for profit because they want to skim off the top and take the profits. That's what they want to do. They want to use our tax money to put in their fucking bank account. No, government should be run for the people, for services. And taxes are supposed to go to services for the people, not to tax cuts for the billionaires and putting money in Elon Musk's pocket, who does not need that. So I reject any politician that comes from a business background as far as I'm a CEO and I know how to run businesses like I'm Trump. Well, you fucking bankrupted a casino, which is impossible to do, honestly. And, that's what I'm saying. Government should never be run like a business. And people that have that mentality or think that it should be like that, you're fucking wrong. Government should be run for the people, by the people, with their tax money and services that help the people. And that's what I say right there. There you go. There you go. Boom goes the dynamite. Yeah, that I don't feel sorry for your friend. He's an idiot. G's saying Auburn is a really good team. Play for each other. You can just tell. That's cool. I don't even know who their prospect is in the draft. Is there a guy that's in the draft right now that they're going to say, oh, yeah, that guy's going in the first round for the NBA this year? I don't even know. I haven't heard any of them. Adrenaline's here. Adrenaline Legends, good to see you, man. Adrenaline Legends is a friend from the 905 chat that we've seen from time to times in there. I appreciate you coming in here for my live stream today, Adrenaline Legends. All the best to you, man. Hello. Good to see you. Wayne saying the federal government's acquisition of the TMX pipeline is one of the greatest infrastructure investments for Canada's energy sector. Conservatives still can't acknowledge it, although they earned from it. Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, I'm not totally for the pipelines. I'm with David Suzuki. David Suzuki is an important environmentalist in Canada's history, and he's awesome. He really, we need to do sustainable stuff. We need to do renewables. We need to do solar. We need to do wind. And in some ways, I know the pipeline will give us more independence from the states. So in some ways, I'm okay with it for that. And the other thing we need to do is build refineries. We need a refinery on both coasts of Canada. And then we don't have to do anything with the states as far as what goes on with oil. And that's something we're probably going to do, honestly, because in some ways, this has been a kick in the butt for our country to be more self-sufficient and not rely on the United States for different things right now. And in some ways, we'll be better for it because of that. So, yeah, let me see. All right, let me go and look around my tabs and make sure we talked about everything I want to talk about today. That's right, y'all. Remember, tomorrow is Burrito Day, National Burrito Day. So go and get a cheap burrito from Bar Burrito. And maybe you get the Grady or the Kelly burrito. Who knows? Happy birthday to Pascal Siakam. He's 31 years old today. Also, happy 50th birthday to Nate Huffman, former Raptor player, and also to Raptors broadcaster Eric Smith, who turned 50 today. I sent him a nice message on Instagram. He replied to me and said, thank you. Yeah, happy 50th birthday, Eric Smith. We appreciate you, E, and the work that you do alongside Paul Jones and all the stuff you've done over the years broadcasting for the Raptors. You're a real one and one of the better journalists for the Raptors in the media, honestly. I really do like Eric Smith. I always have, honestly. I don't think he's ever really pissed me off. He's the kind of person that is just like easygoing and fair. And in some ways, he's a real journalist. He's not putting his own hyperbole and observations into things. He's more like, I'm going to tell you what's going on and just straight up the facts. And I'm not necessarily going to be like Michael Grange and put in my own little gaslighting takes and shit like that. So I appreciate Eric because I know on the down low, he's also a real fan of the team. He's not just a journalist. He actually does really care about the Raptors and wants them to win. So that I can get behind that. The Raptors lost to the Bulls last night and got routed, and they are officially eliminated from playoff contention. It's too bad. We also got swept by the Bulls for the season. It was tough, man. We lost by 1 point the first game we played them this year, and I really wanted to get them back for that. And then we lost to them in overtime in February, which sucked because it was a dumbass play where Kobe White made a shot at the last second. In some ways, it's annoying. But this year, playing the Bulls was not fun. And in some ways, we got some get back to get them next year. My 3 stars of the game for this one are AJ Lawson, Jacoby Walter, and Jared Rhoden. And an honorable mention to Emmanuel Quickly. I would have given him one of the stars, but I wanted to give those younger guys more shine in this one. But yeah, the Bulls have a nice nucleus they're building, and they're scary, and they're going to be very good next year. I can already tell they're going to be very, very good. Let's see if there's any breaking news on Blue Skies before I take off right here. Apparently on the Raptors show today, Blake Murphy has got Jose Calderon as a guest on the Raptors show with him and Matt Bonner today. So y'all check that out. Seriously, support Blake. He's another great journalist for the Raptors. It is fantastic. I've really enjoyed getting to know Blake this season on the Raptors 905 chat. Let's see. Is there any other news to see? The power rankings were mean to us. They're stupid. And I don't understand. They put New Orleans above us this time. Like, what the fuck have the Pelicans done? They've lost players for the season, Zion and CJ. And now you rank them up 3 positions higher? I don't understand that. It's so dumb. Raptors Reddit, calm down about Scotty Barnes. Everything's fine. Nobody needs to be traded. Nobody needs to get rid of Scotty at this point. Scotty's awesome. We love him. And it's going to be so good. All right, let's see. And is there anything here that I need to check on? No, I don't think so. All right. Oh, yeah, we need to do the classic card. Of course, that is the last thing we need to do real quick. TMX is for export to the East. Okay. So in some ways, we're going to start trading with Europe and Mexico way more now. And, we're going to need like good ports to the East to get to Europe and use them more because of things and stuff. And Mexico's awesome. I'm buying more Mexican products than ever right now. Seriously, just to bypass the U.S. products. Yarritos, that's another one. I may run out of Canadian goods to talk about, and I may start doing international goods other than American goods, just so we can showcase products from around the world that are okay to buy from other countries that are allies with us still. That sounds so dumb, man. That sounds so dumb. Let's see. Yeah, you're glad that Adrenaline made it to the chat. It's pretty cool. All right, here's a classic card. Full name answer, please. And do not half-ass it. If you write half the name, you will maybe get Seagull. So you can see the guy, and you can see this is actually an old school card. He's saying, Blackhawk's saying, when you vote for a man that is clearly not working in your interest, then you need to re-examine yourself. Well, it's partly because people are just dumb, and they're getting duped, and they're getting fooled. And that's the sad thing. Like, be smarter. And listen, the right wings people do not have any integrity at this point. They lie through their teeth. And they'll say, oh, the left wing does it too. Same thing too. That's bullshit. We're not lying. The only thing we're doing is we're trying to do shit that you think is woke and you don't like. And otherwise, to say that's not exactly the right answer, Stargate. You're close. You're close. There you go. Slug Deezy got it. It's the British player, James Donaldson, former center for the Dallas Mavericks, played alongside Derek Harper, Roy Tarpley, Rolando Blackman, Brad Davis. That was the Mavericks team. The notable thing about James Donaldson is that he was one of the first openly gay players in the NBA. He was not playing at the time. He came out afterwards and talks about it a lot as a in the closet NBA player who was gay in the league. But yeah, it's James Donaldson from the UK. He's an English player from the UK. Yeah. James. Yeah, James Donaldson, not Eric. You were close. Smooth, you're just behind Slug Deezy. Look, good to see the 2 heavyweights slugging it out right there. But Slug Deezy slugged it in that one. I'm going to give you 150 for this one. James Donaldson is somewhat known. Actually, you know what? Let's be nice. Let's go ahead and give 200 to Slug Deezy for this one. Slug, you are moving up on the Raptor Freak trivia rankings. You are overtaken Amit the GOAT, and you are in the top 5 at this point because of your work with the classic card in recent months. Of course, Smooth Brown Man, though, has got over 1,100 points. He's almost doubled up Kareem, who is second. So, Smooth, this is your championship to walk right into. Now, the one thing I will advise you, Reggie, is when the playoffs are starting and we're done, we're going to be doing Tuesday trivias every week, and there will be some points to be collected from the Tuesday trivias. I know your strength is classic card, but I could see you doing very well in the Tuesday trivias. Just do enough. You can hold off anybody who might try and come up and get you. I don't think Amit's coming back, though. And that was the whole thing last year with Amit making the late season push to overtake Fiercey for the championship last year. But I feel like Reggie's really safe up there at this point. Really, really safe. He's got a really good lead. All right, y'all, check on your fantasy basketball teams. We've got great competitive series going on. I see that Gerald is kicking Andrew's butt 7-0 right now in the consolation bracket. I'm losing to Jason Dukes 5-2. David is winning the Saborin Cup between David and Peter right now, 4-3. It's very close. And Meredith is beating Trucker Cass 4-3 right now also. So very, very close matchups in the championship bracket. And we'll see how it all pans out by the end of the week and who's going to be playing for the championship next week out of the final four in our Raptor Freak Fantasy League. Very, very good stuff there. All right, and that's it. I think I've checked every of the things. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me today. Listen, we're eliminated from the playoffs. It is what it is. This year is what this year is. And then this year's been very fruitful and great as far as developing these J Rooks, Ulrich Shamshay, Grady Dick, Oshai Abaji, all kinds of people made leaps this year. And it's been very, very productive season for the Raptors. The wins total is not exactly as high as we'd like, but they've still got time. Maybe we'll get 30 wins this season. I'd much rather have a 30-win season than a season with only 20-something wins. It looks better just in general. So Stargate saying, was James Donaldson who came out, or was it John Amici? Oh, you know what? Stargate, you're going to get a point because I think you just actually fact-checked me. I think you're right. I'm not sure. All right, let me write this in. I thought that maybe both of them were, but you may be exactly right, and I'm getting two players mixed up, and it's actually Amici that I'm saying. Holy crap, James Donaldson is blah, blah, blah. Okay. You know what? I'm trying to look up James Donaldson, and it's only giving me Mr. Beast. You know what? You're right. You're exactly right. This guy is British too, just like Amici. But that's why I got confused. I'm like, there's a former center in the league that's from UK, and they were like gay, and it's Amici. You're exactly right, Stargate. You know what? I'm going to give you some trivia points for this or something. What should I give him? I should give him trivia points. I'm going to give you an extra 200 for correcting me on that because you're exactly right. It was John Amici, formerly of the Orlando Magic, that I got confused with James Donaldson right there. You're exactly right. Holy crap. Good job, Stargate. All right. I'm going to give you a 200 also, just like Slug Deezy on the Raptor Freak trivia standings. I will give you a dunk too for correcting me also because I really do appreciate when you guys correct me because I know I'm not right all the time and I do need to be corrected. I don't want to be telling false information here. And I was doing that just now, apparently. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me. I'll come back tomorrow for a preview of the Portland Trailblazers at Toronto Raptors. Delano Banton comes home tomorrow night. And I'll have all the latest lineup news and the referees and all the stuff that we do on this channel. And yeah, classic cards, stuff like that. I appreciate everybody. I'm really happy to be back here at the cottage at my place and not at some Airbnb because of the power outage. And it's cool to have my flag back. It really is. And you know what else? I found my jerseys again, man. Like here's my JYD signed jersey. I found them, the ones that used to be on the wall. I had lost them since May, and I didn't know if I still had them. In fact, I was worried my landlord had stolen them from me when I had my stuff in storage when I went away to Estonia. But I found them. They had them packed in a weird place. There's my Alvin signed jersey right there. Oh, man, look at that Alvin Boogie Williams, Alvin 20, and it's an authentic one, stitched. And then, of course, the last one is my guy Muggsy. So I'm just happy I relocated my Muggsy Bogues signed jerseys because I didn't have them for a while. I didn't even know where they were. I was really worried I'd lost them forever, but I got them. And there's my Bargnani jersey. Yeah, so I found my jerseys. That's good, man. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties a lot lately, whether it's internet, power, and the microphone. I don't know what the hell's going on with the mic now. Anyway, I appreciate everybody. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 9:30. Go Raptors. We're out of the playoffs, but you know what, Rabbit Freaks, we're awesome. Like Mose says, stay strong, stay together, and I'll be here every day. And I appreciate everybody hanging out and talking with me every morning, guys. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go Raptors. Let's go Tempo. Let's go 905. And let's go Team Canada. Let's go Canada. Strong and free.